This is The Fan Rochester.
Hey, listen to this. All it needed was a new...
.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester, an Odyssey sports station.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
Very good afternoon to you as we welcome you in to the sports bar, Danger and Battaglia. Glad you're with us as we survive the weekend and we are ready for another fantastic week of sports talk in the Flower City. Thanks for listening at 95.7 FM, AM 950. You can find us in the Odyssey app, iHeartRadio, tune in at The Fan Rochester on YouTube, and on Twitch, where we stream our show live every afternoon from 3 to 6. I am Danger, that's Battaglia.
It is so much fun to have football back.
Football is back.
I just beginning on Friday night with watching Shador. Okay, there's something there, and then we go into the Bills, and then
Shador made some passes. Yeah. Like he made those were NFL touchdown passes. He did not look out of place in the NFL with those touchdown passes.
There was just one where he put some touch on it too, like it was a little wheel route on the right.
Wow. There was one screen pass that he threw that was wildly inaccurate. I'm like, oh boy, this doesn't look good. And then he got it together. I mean, it's almost like he needed to have one really bad incompletion to make some of the completions he made on Friday. But Shador looked good. Nike reminding us that he is a Sanders, doing an ad immediately after Shador has a good preseason game. But we've got a lot of football to talk about today. I mean, that was like the appetizer on Friday night, right? We had a few games on Friday, and then we're drinking water from a fire hose Saturday and yesterday. Lots to get to here as the Bills head into week 2 of the preseason with a joint practice in Chicago coming up later on this week. We'll give you all the latest, and we'll talk some Buffalo Bills throughout the course of the afternoon. 4 o'clock hour, Derek Kramer from the Buffalo Bills Radio Network will be stopping by at 4:25.
Yeah, he was anchoring on Saturday, so we'll get his thoughts on – all right, like who stepped up and what might the Bills need to work on here a little bit. I don't want to overreact to anything, but I think there are positives we can certainly take out of that game. Derek Kramer in the 4 o'clock hour today from the Bills Radio Network.
And joining us later this hour in about 20 minutes or so, Jenna Cottrell from 13 Wham Sports, Buffalo Plus, swinging by with her reaction to Saturday's game.
I feel bad. We didn't get a chance to catch up with Jenna, although we saw her there every day. It's like, wow, camp went by so quick for us. So it's good to have Jenna on today, get her thoughts. We do have another episode of Hard Knocks is going to drop tomorrow night, and that will be the last one that's going to give us a little Rochester flavor. Jenna Cottrell coming up at the bottom of the hour.
Yeah, I think that if there was an episode that we were going to be featured on, it would be tomorrow night's episode.
It's the only one.
It's the only
one.
Has to happen tomorrow night for your boys, or it doesn't happen at all.
Because we know there is going to be a segment on Joe Andreessen coming up. Oh, by the way, Joe Andreessen played a lot in that game, playing with the first string defense, and Joe Andreessen's story. If you're telling it nationally, if they're going to continue with the feel-good stuff, it is getting more feel-good than Joe Andreessen, Buffalo Joe.
Yeah, Buffalo Joe had himself another afternoon, kind of showed, he just continues to show what he is, and he is an NFL player. I mean, 5 total tackles, 1 for a loss. I actually thought we would see more of him. I'm like, why not? Why? But then I remembered, I know why we're not going to see as much Joe Andreessen late in the game.
There's somebody else.
There's somebody else that needs to step up and make some plays. I mean, our guy Jimmy Charlo making some plays because he's Italian.
Jimmy Charlo went to West Point. Can you get more tough than that, Jimmy Charlo? I just love guys who can tackle. Tackle. And there's Charlo. Boom.
Yeah.
Textbook. Yes.
Textbook tackle.
Yes.
And big tip of the cap to one of our regulars in the sports bar, Greg, who while he was watching the game, videotaping the game, Jimmy Charlo makes a tackle, and Greg, he sends me the video where he goes, "Yeah, he made the tackle because he's Italian." That's right. That's right. Jimmy Charlo had himself an afternoon as well.
Ooh, before we get to more here, like as they do on CMF, let's just kind of review the picks here. Brian Dable and Sean McDermott indeed have a handshake.
Cordial.
Mm-hmm. All right, that's it. Wasn't like a big man hug, wasn't anything above it. But
certainly wasn't a Harbaugh handshake.
No.
Don't look that up on Urban Dictionary, whatever.
I would not advise anybody look that up.
Mm-hmm.
We had Shavers. Did not hit for the touchdown. But the point is, he did come up with a big play there, Danger.
I mean, you take away the Shavers' long pass, and Trubisky's stat line is pretty pedestrian, right? I mean, like that big play kind of set up. Trubisky and Mike White both had like these stat lines that make you – I don't know that one has pulled ahead of the other in terms of the race for the backup quarterback position.
Well, if that is going to be status quo, then – everybody get ready for Mike White as the backup quarterback. Why would you keep Trubisky if they're equal? Wouldn't you just go to who gets paid less? Okay, Trubisky's close with Josh Allen. I get that.
Yeah.
That might be it.
That might be it, and that might be all it takes, right? Or you keep you keep all three of them and you leave everything as is, as it was last year. You leave it alone, and you could do it again this year. But
put Mike White on the practice squad, and if somebody wants him, go for it.
Yeah, you got it. As far as the offense is concerned, it didn't feel. I mean, the offense, the big play from Shavers was nice, but I mean, they didn't really feel like there was a rhythm. And I know that it's challenging when you've got the starting offensive line and a backup quarterback. You know, you're not used to the cadence of Trubisky, and just when it started with a false start by Dawson Knox to start the game, it's like, oh boy, like there was a little bit of the lack of coordination and nothing really offensively that felt like great. I'll say this: third down, both offense and defense. The Bills, if third down defense was an issue last year, I didn't get the sense from one preseason game that that's going to get better this year, because it still felt like an issue to me from Saturday's game.
Couple thoughts. One, it's one specific play. It's the damn screen pass. Like, holy cow. Like, they should be, here it comes, everybody. And I'm not here to tell you, all right, this was so-and-so's responsibility, the safety, the linebacker. I don't know. But McDermott kind of pointed out that they don't do any game planning for preseason. They just want to just get guys back in rhythm. So am I going to ding the Buffalo Bills for third down defense? No. However, it is one of those things that has been kind of an issue here.
Yeah, I'm not going to overreact to anything we saw, but I am going to point out that the Bills on offense were 1 for 9 on third down. On defense, they gave up 9 for 19. The Giants were about 50%, almost 50% on third downs. And that was an issue last year, right? Third down, you got to get off the field. And they couldn't quite do it with any sort of regularity on Saturday against the Giants. And again, nobody's overreacting here. This was a defense that was void of most, you didn't have your starting safeties. It was good to see Trey White and Benford out there to start the game. You had Bosa out there. You had some big name players to start the game.
I just hope Trey White is mentally tough. He's in a good spot right now, but opposite Christian Benford, he's going to see a lot of balls going his direction. And there's one play in particular, like, okay, wrestling the receiver down. He took him for a ride a few extra yards, 5-6 yards down the field. So for Trey White, he's going to see a lot of action coming his way.
Now, while we don't want to overreact to anything we see in the preseason, we will point out, certain performances, certain missteps, certain highlights. Dane Jackson got beat. Dane Jackson got torched.
That was the touchdown pass fade pattern. That look, the last time we saw Dane Jackson was actually that same corner of the end zone. That was 2 years ago, and that was Travis Kelce. Okay, in the Chiefs' playoff win. So. The idea that Dane Jackson, in my mind, Danger, I always had Dane Jackson as being the guy on the practice squad playing the Josh Norman role on this team where, hey, he knows exactly where he needs to do, and maybe you have to elevate him for a game or two. But if he's corner 4 on this team at this stage of his career, yeah.
Tough one, man.
Yeah.
It's a tough one. Jackson Hawes maybe is breathing a little bit of a sigh of relief. Zach Davidson wasn't very good. A couple of real easy passes dropped by the Bills' tight end.
Who should be known for his hands, right? That's his thing.
Yeah, and Jackson Hawes should be known for being like Alec Anderson 2.0.
Mm-hmm.
But you missed out on a big play with Davidson. You got to make those plays. You got to make those catches. This will probably be the only time we mention Jacob Bayer in the sports bar.
Well, there were people that were high on this kid, right? Like the center, like, ooh, that's some people were pointing it out. Like, he could be the guy that presses Van Pran Granger. No, not when you're snapping the ball way over the quarterback's
Please,
head.
Van Pran Granger, get better, get well, get back on the field as soon as possible. We can't see Jacob Bayer out there anytime soon. It's funny how we have just become so accustomed to the mundane, the easy things, the fundamental things that happen that when you see something that off, it's like, oh my God, what was that? That guy has no part on this team. What was that? That can't happen. It just can't happen. We don't see it ever happen. And Jacob Bayer with that terrible snap over the head of Shane Buechele.
Landon Jackson lining up offside, who knew it was a free play, resulted in interception, and so an interception coming off the board for the Bills.
Yeah, don't like that.
Yeah.
And the Bills not getting to the quarterback either. I mean, that's another thing that we highlight, like going into the season, like they have to close. They have to get sacks.
Well,
they have to get after the quarterback.
I'm going to point out something here, Danger, because when you induce a holding call, why don't we hold that like in the same esteem as a sack?
Oh, yeah, right.
Like Joey Bosa, his move to the inside against whoever that was for the Giants. Okay, that tells me. And for Bosa to say, like, he's only played one time before the preseason. Okay, we've seen enough from Joey Bosa. Let's not overdo it.
Yeah.
That's all I needed.
Yeah, a couple of penalties against the Giants' offensive line, courtesy of Joey Bosa. Had himself a nice little series there to start the game. We mentioned Joe Andreessen. We should also mention we did see Ray Davis, not just the runner, Ray Davis, the kicker.
That was the other bet there, Danger.
Yep.
We said, is that the unwritten rule of football? No, the worst unwritten rule of football is let me take a timeout to ice the kicker because I'm Brian Dable at the end of the first half. Yeah. Like, you went to the game, everybody's like, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
McDermott kind of did the same thing, calling the timeout 30 seconds left in regulation.
A couple of players that I think made their case or helped make their case. Laviska Shenault wasn't bad.
No, and there was another play by Hamler where, like, he came out of the end zone. It's like, oh, what are you doing here? But you don't know. Did he do that on his own, or did the coaches say, do this regardless? So kind of hard to, without knowing the context of everything. I thought Corey Crouch was very good, too.
And Deion Walker, when he got on the field, batting a pass at the line of scrimmage, he's just that's the kind of player I want out there more frequently than I know the Bills are going to put him out there. Like, I just would love to see that guy out there constantly because he's just so massive, so athletic.
You don't need him on first, and if third down, fine with that. People are pointing out that TJ Sanders had a great game too. So the two of them, okay, there's something there. And if you're Larry Ogunjobi, I looked up his contract, Danger. They paid him a lot of guaranteed money. So, no, that's not going to be a surprise cut. He's going to go on the shelf here for 6 weeks. But it was a concern heading into the season. All right, well, while these two guys are on suspension, what do you do here on the defensive line? You've got 4 guys in there right now, and I'm including Daquan Jones because I think Daquan – in small doses as a fourth defensive tackle.
He's fine.
Yeah, he'll be fine.
He's been fine. Love to get your thoughts on Saturday's preseason opener for the Buffalo Bills. Our number is 866-4326 if you want to join us. 585-866-4FAN. Gina, how did it feel to go to the game and not have to work, to actually just go to a Bills game?
I tweeted out, thank you to the person who hooked me up in the M&T Club. Yes. With free beverages, free food. I don't know what would have been better, the prize or the story. So here's the story, right? And I had no idea what it's like to go in a box, right? So you walk in, and they're really nice. You could tell, like,
and you look down at the peasantry. How's that? How are those seats? I'm up here in the M&T Club. Stay down, everybody.
It's the first time I've ever played squares for a preseason game.
Oh.
I was like, all right, so we go up, and my son and I, okay, what do you want to do? Okay, pick this one. I picked the one right next to him. It's important for the story, right? The numbers ended up being Giants 4, Bills 1 or 2.
Oh.
And as the Bills get the ball late, I'm like, Kyle, like, if they score here, it doesn't matter if they go for 1 or 2. That's it. We win. And they're on 4th down. I'm celebrating a Frank Gore touchdown, baby. Yeah, woo. And then all of a sudden it gets reviewed, and you put it up on the board. I'm like, no, we're not winning the prize. So I go to the guy at the end. I'm like, that's our square there. What would have been? Oh, Khalil Shakir autograph helmet. Yeah, okay. Have a nice day.
Would have been nice on the mantle. Yeah, nice in the man cave. Oh, well.
Could have put it in the studio here.
Everybody wants to know, at least everybody in my neighborhood, in my vicinity, wants to know what it was like hanging out with my neighbor, Mike.
I didn't. I first of all, that's a Musburger. First of all, when you said Mike, that would be like me calling you Chris.
Uh-huh.
I didn't know his name.
Yeah, Cuse.
He's just Cuse.
Yeah.
Hey, it's Cuse. Hey, Cuse.
Hey. Of course he's there in the end because
He and his wife Laura, great people. I'm pointing out people in the press box too. Like I knew this from earlier week because they were around Bill's Radio Row, the 2 offensive linemen from the 90s. I'm like, that's John Fina and Jerry Ostrowski.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they were up there. Don Beebe was up there.
Yep.
So, like, if you're a Bills alum, that's where they put you sometimes up there. So.
Yeah, I remember, I think the one time I went up to the M&T Club, I think Norwood was up there. Scott Norwood was up there. I mean, like, there's always somebody milling about. And you know, that spoils you as a football fan. I remember being up there for the game that I saw, and I'm like, man, I don't know that I could watch football any other way if I'm at a stadium. This is unbelievable. This was great. It was so great. Such a great time. And from the looks of it, as somebody who was watching it from home, it looked like it was probably a little bit warm in the stadium because it felt like a lot of people left fairly quickly after the first couple of series.
I will say, as far as a preseason game, though, at the beginning, that was as full as I've ever seen a preseason game. So, and this is what having a championship expectation can do. And they made a kids' day, and even up in the box there, Danger, there were tons of kids around. So the Bills marketing department, but that stadium where they talk about like how that roof is going to keep you dry in the new stadium, okay, that's also going to keep you in the shade because that was a day to bake out there.
Yeah. And I think that's part of it, too. I mean, I don't know that we can overhype the idea of it being the final year at the old stadium, at Highmark Stadium. I think there's a lot of people that are feeling that nostalgia.
Well, when you do make it back, for anybody who didn't make it back this week, like, oh, wow, that stadium, the amount of work in 9 months that has gone up since we last saw the Buffalo Bills, it's impressive.
And when you see the aerial of the two side by side, old Highmark kind of dwarfs let me see if I do this right. New stadium dwarfs the old stadium, meaning it's bigger.
It's bigger. The footprint's bigger.
Yeah,
the footprint's bigger. It's taller just because they're not going down deep into the ground.
Right, yeah. They didn't dig a bowl for the new stadium the way they did for old Highmark. So I think there's a lot of people that are just genuinely feeling nostalgic about this season and reminiscing on the years that they've gone to the old stadium and knowing that this is the final year. That's the final preseason game in Highmark Stadium. That's it. That's all you got.
Next time we're there,
Sunday Night Football, week 1. Yep. Joint practice with the Bears coming up this week, and then Sunday night in primetime, Bears and Bills.
Fill me in. Are we going to see Caleb Williams at all?
Well, look, I was kind of surprised that he didn't go in yesterday's game against the Dolphins, but I guess they felt comfortable with the amount of reps he got in their joint practice with the Dolphins to the point where I thought I saw Ben Johnson say he got like 70 reps in the joint practice. So they gave him and most of the offensive starters off against Miami. I would think you would probably see Caleb Williams if you're managing him, in his reps. You didn't play the first preseason game. See him on the second preseason game in primetime against the Bills. I would expect to see him at least for a series.
Game goes to national television, but a Sunday night, not on NBC. It's going to be on Fox this coming week. And I don't need to see Josh Allen out there. Now, do we see James Cook out there? Probably not. A little surprised. Like, wait a second, he's dressed. Oh, yeah, because you don't want to get fined.
This is Sean McDermott on the latest with James Cook.
Update on James. That's probably a question you guys have. James and I had a good conversation. We talked about warming up. He agreed to warm up, but not play due to his situation right now. So that's where we're at. So no change really overall.
What is? Can you elaborate on that if you don't care to? But when you say to not play, is there? What's the compromise there? You just wanted him out there, make sure he was there, or?
No, he was. We wanted him to play. I wanted him to play, but I don't really want to, go into it any further. There's really no change at this point in time from what it was going into this weekend and the game today. So, he warmed up, like I said, but at this point, due to his situation and the position he's in, was not willing to play. So that's where we're at. Again, it was a good conversation, but really no change overall.
Sean, just with James, do you expect him to practice?
Yeah, again, let's just move on. We can talk about the guys who played. I think that's the right thing to do and the fair thing to do right now. So James's situation is James's situation, and let's talk about the team.
He did one of my favorite things when you're upset about something or you don't want to talk about something. Like, let's say you have multiple kids, and one of them is wildly successful, and the other one is kind of an F up. You would say, oh, yeah, my oldest daughter, Leah, is this, and she's that, she's doing that. And my little one, Alexa, well, Alexa's Alexa. He did. James is James. The Cook situation is a Cook situation.
You can't say anything more about it.
Right.
That's really what he's kind of saying there. And for Cook, he's straddling a line here, right? And by him dressing, he's showing, hey, I'm a good team, man. I'm here for my guys here. I'm not just kind of
man, I saw in my feed Florio just advocating for the Bills to get a deal done with James Cook, and a big part of it is because of, goes beyond just the Bills and James Cook. It's a bigger NFL issue about players getting what they're deserved, and he's advocating for players, and it's all fine and it's all good. But in this situation specifically, I think the Bills are doing the right thing by not moving off their stance.
What needs to happen for a deal to get done, Mike Danger?
Deadline.
Are we at deadline?
No. At
deadline would be after the Buccaneers game. So everybody check back into it. Hopefully I'm reading this wrong for Bills fans, but all these national reports that the two sides are close, I don't see it. We weren't hearing that.
Well, let's see what Jenna's hearing. Jenna Cottrell, 13 Web Sports, Buffalo Plus, covering the Buffalo Bills, and certainly spent a lot of time at training camp and Saturday at the stadium for week 1 of the preseason. We'll get her thoughts on their performance against the Giants, the latest on the James Cook situation, and more with Jenna Cottrell from 13 Web and Buffalo Plus next on The Fan.
You're listening. Sports Update.
A different week ahead for the Buffalo Bills. Practice tomorrow and Wednesday at the team facility, then a trip to Chicago. Head coach Sean McDermott on the positives from the Giants preseason game.
You know, a lot of guys got some of their first experience dipping their toe into the NFL for the first time in real live game action, so that was good. Thought the guys fought hard to stay in the game at times and then mount a comeback at the end there. Really appreciate that. That said, there's a lot we can take from this game.
Jenna Cottrell, 13 Wham and Buffalo Plus to join us next here in the Sports Bar. Yankees in a bit of a tailspin, but they do get the Twins coming in tonight. Rochester Red Wings finally back home beginning tomorrow against Syracuse. The AP preseason college football poll is out. Texas is number one for the first time, followed by Penn State and Ohio State. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Neat or on the rocks? It's the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Week 1 of the preseason in the books. We react. Don't overreact because it is the preseason, but we do get reaction. We do want to see what the latest is from Jenna Cottrell at 13 Web Sports Buffalo Plus joining us now. So as far as preseason games go, I feel like last year against the Bears, it was a similar kind of conversation. Oh, we don't really game plan for the preseason. We let guys get their feet wet, and you saw more of that. Anything stand out to your eyes from Saturday's game, Jenna?
We were joking on Buffalo Plus that, like, you can't overreact. You can't, like, let it get to your head of, like, oh, my God, I can't believe this. But that being said, I think Matt Milano, seeing him out there sideline to sideline, just his physicality, you have that, but then the agility, just seeing him look like himself. You know, he had the injuries that really kept him at bay. Last season, you felt like you saw him starting to ramp up, but having the off season, then just seeing him out there playing free, it was cool to see that on Saturday. So that to me was something that I was like, all right. But in terms of that, you got some good stuff from Mike White and Mitch Trubisky. Like, those guys both, I thought, started slow. But for me, I was like, hey, they had some nice plays. Tyrell Shavers making a nice catch. You can't overstate what the preseason is about, but also there's things that you can take away. And I think Mike Catalana actually had a really great point. Like, preseason games are not about the team. They're about the individual efforts, and I think you saw some nice ones on Saturday for the Bills.
Yeah, you brought up the quarterbacks. Let's stick with that. And if we get to the time where the Bills need to make a decision, and we're still where we're at, because I think most people be like, yeah, I don't know if like one guy is ahead of the other. What is going to be the deciding factor? Is it going to be Mike White, who comes at a lower price, or could it be Mitch Trubisky and the experience? And he's, from all we hear, is closer to Josh Allen. So which do you think has the bigger weight here, Jenna?
Honestly, I do think it's the experience. Like, look, I do think that Mike White has a higher ceiling, but I also think he has a lower floor. And if you need someone to come in for a couple snaps, or you need someone to come in at a spot start, I think Mitch Trubisky, just having the starting experience, understanding what that pressure will feel like, he just has so many more starts than Mike White. And I think that really does matter. Again, like, you'll hear like Joe Brady and Sean McDermott talk about, oh, Mitch Trubisky, he's got the mobility, he's got the athleticism. I'm not like, that's not jumping off the page to me, but at the same point, they're going to go with the guy that they trust. And I think because of the resume that Mitch Trubisky has, the fact that he's backed up Josh before, I think they do trust Mitch more at this moment. But that being said, look, I thought Mike White, he had, in the beginning when he first got out there in the second half, I was like, oh my goodness, like I'm worried about him. We had talked about how he had this potential and what can we see from him. But he, a nice finish, a couple of touchdowns for him. But for me, it's the experience factor, what that does, and it all comes down to trust. And I do just think that they trust Mitch Trubisky more. But that being said, I mean, we'll see how much run they get, preseason game 2 and what it looks like after that. And that to me is, will you save money having Mike White? Yes. But for a position like that, to pay a little bit more money, I think you got to go with a guy that you just know can operate an offense at that level if he needs to.
Jenna, we know that the defense isn't running it at full speed. They've got a lot of injuries that they're dealing with, a lot of guys that didn't suit up and get on the field. For all of the talk that was made about Joey Bosa and his injury history when he signed with the Bills, seeing him out there in the preseason and being impactful with his snaps was a pleasant surprise.
Did we lose?
Sorry. Sorry, cut out a little bit. What'd you say?
Oh, I apologize, Jenna. Yeah, I was just saying that for all that was made of Joey Bosa's injury history when he signed with the Bills, seeing him out there to start the preseason with the Bills and be impactful with his reps was a nice surprise.
Oh, absolutely. It was funny. We talked to him in the locker room afterwards. He's like, that's the first time I've played in the preseason game in like 6 years because of, you mentioned the injury history and what that looked like. But I think for him, look, it is about staying healthy. That is his name, the game. But just to see him out there, see him being able to make some impact while he's out there, and just having a guy like that, I know it's a one-year deal. It's a prove-it year for Bosa. But at the same moment, I think the boost that he can add, the experience that he has as well, and just seeing him out there is so important. Now it's about keeping him healthy, though. I don't expect to see him any more in the preseason in terms of that. But I just think it's important to note for him, also the confidence that it gives him. Like, okay, I can be out here. You know, he's dealing with some injuries in the spring, and, you know, I was a little concerned about, will he be ready for training camp, getting in that action on a new team. And then from here, it's like, all right, the summer, you prove what you needed to. Let's get to week 1 and let's get beyond.
Jenna Cottrell, Buffalo Plus 13 Wham, our guest here in the sports bar. And Jenna, like the player that had me excited when we saw Deion Walker training camp, like, oh gosh, that looks different. And then to see him burst through, but then kind of working in tandem with TJ Sanders. Again, can't overreact to one game, but how do you see that defensive tackle position kind of shaking out here? Like, how much legitimately might we see Walker as well as TJ Sanders?
Deion Walker, like, physically stands out. I know people are like, oh, he can't be that tall. I mean, they got a big line. No, like, he is a dude. Watching him walk onto the field, you're like, wow, look at that guy. But you're right. You saw that burst. You saw Ed Oliver said it best. He's like, he is a dancing bear. He looks like a bear, but he's got ballerina legs. And to have that level of agility for a guy that big, it's special. It's something you don't see every day. And him and TJ Sanders are already good buddies. Like we were doing an interview, Mike Catalana and myself, and we were interviewing TJ Sanders. Deion Walker's right there, peppering questions, asking TJ stuff. Like, you can see the rapport that they already have. And on Saturday, just to see them working, like you said, in tandem. Now, they were obviously – the Bills, we know, like to rotate things, and in terms of, like, you know, they were going against the Giants backups, all that stuff. But for me, I was like, you could see something. Now, what will that be down the line? We still have to wait and temper our expectations. But I think you see why the Bills went after guys like this early on in the draft. And obviously they invested a lot in that D-line. But for having these rookies out there, I think you saw the potential of what could be something disruptive up the middle for the Bills.
Jenna, what about the kick return game and the punt return game? I wanted to get your evaluation on what you saw between Codrington, Laviska Shenault, KJ Hamler in this kind of race to determine who might make this final 53.
Yeah, I mean, that to me is something definitely to watch, especially as we get further into the preseason. Because Shenault, I mean, he had some injuries coming in. I mean, the spring, he was out. And that's something, that job to me, like Codrington, a younger player, again, that trust factor. KJ Hamler is an older guy. But obviously, for me, it's just, I want to see more, truly. Like, I know that might sound like a cop-out, but I just need to see more of what these guys can do, especially this weekend. Like, what will it look like? I thought for Shenault, okay, like, he's had some nice moments, but at the same point, I think there's someone needs to win that job. And for me, I just want to wait and see how things pan out, because no one's coming away where I'm like, wow, that's it. That's the dude.
So the story that garnered the national attention when it comes to this team, number 4, dressing. Number 4, James Cook being on the field. Jenna, what's your read on this story? Because Danger and our position is like, people are saying they're close. I don't know where they are, but what are you hearing, and where do you think this story goes now as far as James Cook and the contract?
I mean, that is something that we'll have to continue to watch and see play out, because I agree with you. Like, personally, my opinion is it doesn't feel like they're close. And I don't know how much the Bills value that position in terms of paying a guy and things like that. I think, to me, it's the philosophy of, we draft, we develop, and then for that position, we have a guy like Ray Davis. Them signing Ty Johnson in the offseason, to me, was not a good sign if you are James Cook and what they want to do for you long term. So I don't know where things go once the season starts and all of that, because obviously Cook was out there, he warmed up but did not play. And so this is something where I don't know what the resolution looks like, because it seems like there's two sides that are very entrenched in what they want. And so I don't want to say it's a distraction. I think a lot of fans are already kind of getting over it, where they're like, oh, we're talking about Cook again, like trade him, all this stuff. But I do think it's beginning to be irritating to the coaching staff because, look, he's not out there. He's a talented player. What will this look like? How will this play out? I think those are questions on the minds of the Bills as well as Bills fans. But, I mean, Cook he's explosive. Like, his appeal on the field is absolutely that. But when he's not on the field, it does lead to that factor of it being a distraction. And, the Bills are all about trying to minimize stuff as much as possible. But I don't know what the resolution is, because it feels like to me they're not in the market of paying a running back.
It's interesting. Ray Davis did get some run on Saturday, and not just as a running back, but also as a kicker. I'm curious about how they manage Ray Davis's reps here with Cook not practicing or not participating in games, because right now the Bills have all the leverage unless something happens to Ray Davis, in which case they might lose some of that leverage in this negotiation.
I mean, that is the thing, right? Like, they have leverage right now, but you're right. Like, there's NFL, the injuries, they are constant. So how do they manage that? That's a great question. I think for them, even Ty Johnson included in this, it's like picking and choosing what you're going to do in terms of the rep count moving forward and just making sure those guys are healthy. Now, look, I got to be honest. I don't know I actually have a question for you. What is your opinion with the Cook stuff? Do you think they should pay him, or do you think it's, hey, James, you had a nice career in Buffalo. Let's play out this last season and both go our separate ways?
I think the Buffalo Bills have every right to say, this is how we value the position. You want more than we're willing to pay you. You're under contract, so we expect you to play. And then at the end of the season, you evaluate it, and you say, if you hit free agency, good luck getting your $15 million a year. Or, if you have a season. I don't think the Bills will franchise tag him, but I don't think they're wrong in saying that their number is their number and they're nowhere near what Cook wants.
I totally hear you, and I get that the number is the number. And I've been hearing things that it's not as high as $15 million, like it's lower than that. To me, I just feel like I just think what a playmaker Cook is and how dynamic he is on the field. And other than Josh Allen, we know Khalil Shakir is dealing with the injury. He's got the high ankle sprain. But to me, James Cook is a guy that is a weapon on your offense. And he would cost a lot less than a top-tier wide receiver. So for me, I always think about, what about a 3-year deal? Like, I don't know if that would be something Cook would be interested in, but for me, it's like, you're going to pay less than you would a top dollar wide receiver, and Cook can make those plays for you. But again, them signing Ty Johnson, I don't know what the position value is for them, or I should say that I don't think it's as high on running back that it isn't for other positions. So again, it's one of those things that feels like there's no resolution in sight, but you're right. Right now, they do have leverage. The season is coming up. There will be fines if he's not out there. That, for a guy who talks about wanting money, you don't want to take money out of your pocket by fines. And Ray Davis being healthy, Ty Johnson, all these things factor in. But for right now, it's really like, I wasn't expecting this. Like, I know he's been holding in for, over a week now, but it's like, I guess when he came to camp, reported to camp, I thought, all right, he'll just play things out and that's the way it goes. But obviously Cook and his camp decided something different, but I just don't know the resolution in sight. But you're right. The leverage right now is with the Bills, especially with the season coming and the fines that would be incurred if he is not out there.
Jenna, my opinion is like when Kyron Williams got his deal done. Now you look, Williams takes more of a share, but we all can recognize that James Cook is more of the home run hitter. Mm-hmm. I mean, do you think the Bills are offering something north of Williams? Because once that happened, I'm like, okay, that should unlock this, and it didn't. So do you think that's the number, just going a little north of 12?
I mean, I kind of – this is my opinion, but I think, yes, having the Kyron Williams deal absolutely bumps that number up. But you're right, like usage-wise, he is a workhorse for them, whereas you're right, for James Cook, it's just not the same snap count. Last year, his snap count actually went down. I think that's why he was so dynamic. Ty Johnson, obviously, you have on third down. You have Ray Davis to mix in. Like, you're right. I think that number would be 11.5, 12. But I just don't see the end in sight. But you know what? Things are funny in the league. Like, we could get off this phone call and it's James Cook contract extension. Do I expect that? No, but that's just how quickly things can turn. But for me, it's like you have a bona fide playmaker on your roster that would be substantially less. And it's not like you drafted a wide receiver or you have like a young guy, you have Khalil Shakir, and I think he's a great player. I don't want to take away from him. But in terms of top-tier talent, you're always trying to add that to your roster. You're always trying to maintain that. So that's just the way I see it. But again, I don't think the Bills see it how I see it.
Jenna, we don't want to overreact, but and we've been highlighting some of what we saw that was good on Saturday. There are some guys now that I think might find themselves as like bubble players or fringe players here as we get closer and closer to week one. And one of those guys is a familiar name, and Dane Jackson, who gave up a touchdown on Saturday. I'm curious as to what your thoughts are on corner behind Trey White. We know Max Hairston is going to get well and get back into the lineup here to start the season. Where does Jackson fill in on this? Because there's other pieces around him that are younger and might be more worthy. Is Jackson practice squad bound when it's all said and done?
Yeah, to me, like, he got beat on that touchdown. I think he was in good position. He just didn't get his head around. But then I think he had a nice effort after that, was able to bounce back a little bit. But you're right, man. I mean, with Hairston and that injury, how does that kind of factor in? I could see them cutting him coming back to the practice squad. I just don't think he's a guy. I think he wants to be in Buffalo. He's played his best ball in Buffalo. So for him, it would make sense to say, okay, I'll be the practice squad guy. I can come back for that. And I don't think he's at risk of being picked up by another team or anything like that. But that position, also, you mentioned Trey White. Like, Trey White is someone that when he was around for mandatory camp, I was like, I don't know if this dude has got it. Like, I just, like, seeing him on the field, I was like, we'll have to wait and see. I thought it was cool that he was re-signed by Buffalo, but I was like, how much is this just like, hey, this is nice and you'll finish out your career here? But in camp, he made some really nice plays. Now, in the preseason game, I think – he didn't have the best game, but that being said, I think just seeing him out there getting some tackles in, getting those live reps in, and again, they don't game plan. Like Sean McDermott was asked, between a scale of 0 to 10, how much do you game plan for preseason game number 1? He's like, between 0 and 1. So that goes to the level of, what they're doing in terms of doing a game plan for this. But that position group is fascinating to watch, and with the Hairston injury, that definitely impacts it. But for me, I think Dane Jackson is one of those guys that you could safely cut and then sign him back to the practice squad, just because I feel like he's a known commodity in this league, and I think he wants to be with the Bills.
Jenna, here I was sitting down last Tuesday night, all expecting to see images of the palatial estate of Mike Catalana and the Buffalo Plus crew interviewing Brandon Beane, and it wasn't on, but we still have another episode. What do you think, maybe? Because if you're going to bring this back, Cook is going to be at the forefront. We know this coming up, this whole storyline. So, is there some audio and some cuts from Brandon Beane that maybe they could splice in there, do you think?
I mean, truly, I think this is our shot. Like, I really thought episode 1 for Hard Knocks that the Mike Catalana patio would be in there. But this is, if it's going to be this week, I think, or if it's going to be an episode, I do think it would be this week. Now, that being said, it was still really, really cool. Like, to have Hard Knocks, the cameras, NFL Films there, like on Mike's patio. I mean, we live in Rochester. You know what I mean? Like, who would have ever expected them to mic us up and all that stuff? I told Mike this. I was like, it does not take away from it being really, really cool to have Hard Knocks at your house. But you're right. I think if there's a shot that it's in an episode, it would be this week. Obviously, it's going to be a lot of talk about James Cook and the general manager, Brandon Beane, what he decides, what he wants to do, what his outlook is, how he's changed since he's first come in as GM. And this is really the first situation of dealing with something quite like this for him. So I don't know. Fingers crossed. We'll see. But what do you think?
I mean, we're also thinking that if we're going to be featured, we interviewed Andreesen and we had the boom mic in our face and the cameras in our face. So if there's a shot for Rochester to be showcased, it's got to be episode 2. All that said, Jen, I mean, how do you think Rochester, the Bills, St. John Fisher? I mean, I've yet to meet the Bills fan that was disappointed with episode 1.
Can I give Jenna my take here, though? Jenna, people say, hey, shoot me from my good side, shoot me from my bad side.
Yeah.
Downtown Rochester from like the Ford Street Bridge or looking that direction. But I thought, just kind of a shot from Kodak Tower made us look like Rust Belt City. I'm sorry. That's not the angle I want to see of downtown Rochester.
I think you play the hits, though. I think that's what you do. Like that, you think of Rochester, you think of Kodak. if you're like kind of the older generation.
Gene,
I don't know how many younger kids would think that. But
nobody agrees with your take, Gene.
Plenty of people agree.
No,
with my
there's
take.
nobody saying that we looked bad in Hard Knocks. You're being greedy right now. That's what you're
being greedy.
You're being
That's
greedy
so-
with how we're being presented. And I'm telling you, the Kodak building looked great. Downtown looked great. Pittsburgh looked awesome. St. John Fisher looked awesome. The Bills looked awesome. If there's a complaint from anybody that we've heard, Jenna, it's from outsiders or people outside of the region or the fan base that think it's too fluffy, it's too nice, it's too soft.
That's too funny. Honestly, because, well, we were talking about it, like the Bills, and I mean this in the most respectful way, like the Bills are kind of boring. Like in a great way. There's not usually a ton of drama or distraction. Obviously this Cook thing is a little bit something, but like for the most part, I'm like, for Hard Knocks, it's going to be a lot of those like stories of like, hey, here's a guy trying to make the roster and all that stuff. And I get episode 1, you're setting things up. Who is Josh Allen? Also, Josh Allen was so Chris Pratt. Can we talk about that? His little like one-liners and just the things he was saying. I'm like, oh my gosh. He cracks me up with how much he is good on camera, but also does not like love being on camera. He's just such a humble guy.
Jenna, I know for Buffalo Plus you'll have a kind of reaction pod to what is coming up here on Hard Knocks tomorrow night. What else can we go check out on that and 13 Wham this week?
I was going to say, well, we're going to be up at practice tomorrow, and then as well as on Wednesday, we'll have our preseason review of what happened in game number 2 coming up after this weekend. And also, I don't know if you guys saw the reaction to Dan seeing himself on Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
He had a little slow-mo shot with him walking out with Josh Allen. And we have that on the Buffalo Plus channel, and that is perfect and so Dan and so funny. So I highly recommend checking out that little video because it is Dan in a nutshell.
Yeah, and boy, out of everybody in Bill's media that got featured and showed, it was like, yeah, there's Dan. Dan won season. Yeah, he won episode 1. That was
He did. Also, we were joking about his Zoolander face. He had like as the camera was slow-moing, he had on this like model-esque face that we were all joking about. But
I believe he calls that one Blue Steel. I think that's the look he was
yes,
going.
that was very Blue Steel. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But I hope for Mike, for Catalana, like it would be really cool for him to have the patio featured. Selfishly, I know I would be included in that, but truly for him, the Hall of Famer, like that would be really, really cool.
That would be the cap on a great career.
Yeah, seriously.
Jenna,
seriously.
This is refreshing to talk to a 13 Wham and Buffalo Plus person and not bringing up baseball at the end. I like because
right?
How do you deal with that?
Do you want to talk about baseball?
No, I don't. Baseball season's over, Jenna. So we're on the football season.
I was gonna say it feels like a bit like a race to the bottom, but yeah. You know what though? Bates told me he's not even watching Braves games right now.
Yeah, he's done. He told us he was done about a month ago. Like, yeah, it's football season. We're done.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Jenna, appreciate the time. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Thank you so much. Take care, guys.
You got it. There's Jenna Cottrell, 13 Wham, Buffalo Plus, one of our favorites, stopping by the sports bar. Mets. What?
Yeah.
Yankees, Mets. I mean, the race to the bottom, she's absolutely right. You said it last week. It was like the take is not that the Yankees are going to miss the playoffs. The take is that the Yankees
will finish with a losing record.
Right. I mean, I see Yankee fans at the stadium wearing bags on their heads, and I'm like, when did the Yankees become the Saints? What are we doing?
Was talking to a good advertiser here, Julie from Stokey Farms, big Yankee fan, and goes to what would the old man have done? He would have fired Boone by now, okay? Like, this team needs a little bit of a jolt. Same thing with the Mets, too. I can't point and everything. That was lost for the Mets yesterday. Horrific. You're up 5-0. I'm sorry, buddy. We can't help you. Making Milwaukee look
look, there's a part of me that's secretly like, whatever happens with Milwaukee is fine. We know how it goes with Milwaukee in the postseason. They're not a threat, but just knowing that they're playing as good as they're playing and they're mowing down everybody.
I'm looking at this lineup, and Churio's not even out there. Yelich is a part-time player at this point. Like, how are they doing this?
Yeah,
that's why I'm with you. Like Milwaukee, okay, that's good. Pat him on the head, and then we get the big boy baseball here in October.
And I'm being very quiet as well because the Cubs can't get past a series with St. Louis. So it's a down time right now for us. It's football season. I think
It
it's
is
like we
football,
say.
yeah.
It's football. We're talking about football. We're not going to spend too much time talking about baseball. We'll talk about more uplifting things. Derek Kramer from the Bills Radio Network, WGR, is going to stop by the Sports Bar next hour. We'll get his thoughts on Week 1 of the preseason and plenty to go over from around the NFL as well. We have time for your calls if you want to join us next at 866-4FAN. 585-866-4326.
I also want to hit the fast forward button. Okay, I love doing this. Okay, do we want to talk about this next week of preseason? No. Let's talk about Week 1 and picking one game each day, and we'll try to figure out, all right, if we do a slow roll, how do we bet this thing?
Okay. All right, we'll get to that and Derek Kramer all coming up in the 4 o'clock hour here on the Fan Rochester.
Your electric, Rochester and Western New York's electric leader. This is The Fan Rochester. WROC-AM, WBEE HD2 Rochester. And streaming online and in the Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. The Fan Rochester. Sports Update.
Different week ahead for the Buffalo Bills. Practice tomorrow and Wednesday in Orchard Park. Then a trip to Chicago for joint practices at the end of the week. We'll talk more Bills football coming up later this hour with Derek Kramer from the Bills Radio Network. To baseball, the Yankees in a bit of a tailspin, but they do get the Twins tonight. Here's manager Aaron Boone.
We're in a playoff position right now, and we've been through a bad 2 months where we haven't performed at a level we need to. But look at last year. Go back the year before. The year before, you can pick out a number of teams that are sitting in a worse position than we are right now that go on that run. We have the people to do that.
Rochester Red Wings finally back home tomorrow night. Syracuse will be the opponent. The AP preseason college football poll is out. Texas is number 1, followed by Penn State and Ohio State. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about baseball. It's football season. Mets fan across from me is miserable. I'm miserable. Yankee fan
miserable.
Wearing bags on their heads. I mean, come on. You're the Yankees. You wear bags on your heads. What happened? When did you become the New Orleans Saints? Welcome back into the Sports Bar. It's Danger and Battaglia. Glad you're with us. Thanks for listening at 95.7 FM, AM 950. Thanks for checking out the video stream. You can watch us on YouTube and Twitch. Our channel, The Fan Rochester. Like and subscribe while you are there. We will be joined by Derek Kramer, the Buffalo Bills Radio Network, here in about 20 minutes or so. We'll get his observations from week 1 of the preseason. The Bills fall to the Giants at Highmark Stadium, the lone preseason game that we'll have in Buffalo this year, before the Bills now shift gears to their joint practice later this week in Chicago and a Sunday night affair at Soldier Field.
That joint practice, that should be fun, right? It'll be during the show, I would think, on Friday, and we'll be kind of getting all these updates there in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
So Saturday being the off day. I remember Brownie telling me at camp they're going to go see the Cubs. He couldn't tell me who they were playing. It's funny. I looked it up. Playing the Pirates, so I guess it's okay if you get Skeens, but otherwise,
it feels like a win. But I can't count on anything. I mean, just like you as a Mets fan can't count on anything. I can't count on anything right. I mean, not really glowing or beaming with any sort of confidence about the Cubs here for the rest of the season.
I thought you would have more confidence about the Bears, and then when we heard the initial reports, Caleb Williams doesn't look that great. Oh, it can't be that bad. It can't be that bad. Are they breaking him down to build him back up?
I think so. I mean, he's been kind of up and down, and we didn't get to see what he would look like on Sunday against the Dolphins. But you have to have faith in the guy that they brought in, right? Everybody wanted Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson was the hot commodity. He was the hot coordinator that everybody wanted to be a head coach. And is he worth his weight as a head coach? We will find out. We will find out pretty quickly. I've said all along, we will learn within the first 5 weeks if Caleb Williams is the dude in Chicago. And I know that doesn't feel like a large window of time to give somebody all of last season into this season, but for somebody as highly touted as he was, for somebody that you gave up as much as you did for, the first and the schedule being what it is for the Bears early in the season, like, you're going to learn pretty quickly what Caleb Williams is. Is he the dude or is he not the dude?
The one takeaway I had from the Bears and Dolphin game, my gosh, they still have GSH on the shoulder, and now they have Virginia's on there.
I mean, it's a tribute. I don't like the McCaskey patch. I don't like that the M is bigger than the H. I don't like that at all. Like, I know you have to pay tribute to her, but no, that patch doesn't look right to me.
Well, if the GSH, like, how many people don't even know what that stands for? If that's been there, like, since we've been watching football practically, then you can't take the other patch off, right? Or do you? Is it just a 1 year?
I really don't want to go inside the minds of the McCaskies. I don't understand how they operate in general. Look, George Halas is, practically invented the NFL, right?
Yeah.
So, I'll say honor that guy, wear his initials on your sleeve forever. They do the decal with Steve McMichael, the 76 on the back of their helmets this year too. So that's a couple of losses for the franchise, but the Virginia McCaskey, I was just like, no, I don't love it. I mean, that's the daughter of Papa Bear Halas, and she married into the McCaskey family, and I really don't know how they operate the way they operate sometimes.
I was just wondering, were you trying to lay groundwork for a little weekend getaway? Because I imagine the tickets are going to be easy to come by, especially for you.
What, this weekend?
Yeah.
Oh, no, not this weekend.
No, you wouldn't go out there for that.
No, not this weekend. I am trying to maneuver for a regular season weekend. I'm absolutely trying to connect some dots and align some things for the regular season. Nothing confirmed.
The executive producer hit me with a phrase that she let me off the leash for the Kansas City weekend, and I should be grateful.
I mean, she did let you off the leash.
Yeah.
I don't know that you
like
need
I'm
to
a
be
dog.
grateful. Well, the thing is, and I think most women, I think, understand. Like, boys will be boys, and I think every now and then, it's healthy for us to have a release valve, and it's healthy for everybody. By the way, this goes both ways. Like, if my wife wants to go out with her friends, go. If it's a weekend somewhere, go. If you don't need me or want me around, and you need to blow off steam or reminisce or do whatever you need to do, go.
It's a movie that, hey, maybe I'm not interested in seeing, but you want to see with your girlfriends, go ahead.
Right. Especially if you've been in a relationship as long as we've been with our wives. It's like, do we really have to pretend anymore? Like, can we just be honest? Like, no, I have no interest in that. Our time is valuable.
It's like Labor Day weekend. No, I'm not interested in going to the Met game. Okay. No problem, honey.
Yeah. Yes, dear. Okay.
Yes, okay.
The Museum of Modern Art? Yes, we will go. Yes, that'll be great.
I do hear there's a good rooftop bar, though.
Good rooftop bar. I'd like to order a cold one. That'll be $35, sir. Wow, that's a great value. Look at that view. Woo. That's a $35 view right there. The NFL is back. I mean, that was the thing. I mean, we are now in drinking water from a fire hose season. Every game has multiple storylines. Certainly no shortage of players to monitor, to keep an eye on, to see how they progress, to see who makes their case to play in the regular season. Like, you go back to Friday night, I was impressed with Shedeur. I wasn't impressed, and then I became immediately impressed. He had a really bad miss on an easy pass, and I'm like, okay, that looked terrible. But his touchdown passes were NFL touchdown passes.
So it's the age-old question, how do you develop the quarterback, right? And for Shedeur, he's shown you enough. So at least to warrant more action in the preseason, but when are you going to turn the keys over? And are you starting Joe Flacco week 1 against the Bengals? Are you going to just get in Shedeur and let him take his lumps?
I think Flacco starts. Although, if you wanted a soft landing spot for Shedeur, the Bengals defense is going to be really bad this year. Like, I think you can have the Bengals defense.
That was Philadelphia's second string offense working around. Like, granted, the highlights were, hey, here's Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. And
they look great.
They're really, really good.
Yep. Joe Burrow looked great. I mean, we don't see a lot of Joe Burrow in the preseason for one reason or the other, but to see him out there with his guys, he looked great. Near perfect. The defense, yikes.
Well, I want to get to this week 1 matchup, but there was another thing, too. And, gosh, you talk about water from fire hose. They're taking a little sip. This was the 23-23 game, Raiders and Seahawks, and the clip of Geno Smith going back to Seattle and giving the fans the double bird.
Yeah. Fiery Geno Smith.
Well, there's somebody that put up a sign, comparing Geno Smith to Jamarcus Russell. Good on Geno Smith that he got that reference. Yeah, no, and here's what I think. And in true Raider form, Pete Carroll was asked about it, and no, did you see what the sign said? That's the Raiders. Get back the swagger there. Oh my gosh, he gave a fan the bird. Ooh, wow, that's a terrible thing. Week 1 preview, if I may, Danger. Each day we'll pick just one game to talk about.
Great.
As we get ready for the NFL season. And we can pick this right now, just this one game. And while we're talking about the Raiders, let's go. The Raiders at Patriots. I love how the NFL gets kitschy here, right? Two teams that, hey, we're thinking they're going to be better. But they weren't very good last year. Patriots, because they're home, I suppose, they're favored by 3. This is the classic example of no one knows anything in week 1. How good are these teams? Well, no one knows anything, including the odds makers. They don't have an idea. New England, well, they had the worst record, or at least they should have had the worst record last year, and they're favored. Let's go back to the checklist here. Okay, better coach, Pete Carroll, Mike Vrabel.
I'm going to tilt Carroll on that one.
I'm going to say it's a toss-up on that.
It's close.
What about better quarterback, Geno Smith or Drake May? And we're not talking about higher ceiling. The answer obviously is May for that, but week 1, toss-up. I don't know.
Right.
Well, 2 new head coaches, 2 suspect defenses, and I'm going to guess this line, Danger, will move more in favor of the Patriots as they will get all excited, their fan base, as we get closer. So if you like the Raiders, I would say wait on this. For now, I'm taking the Raiders plus the 3.
Did you see Travion Henderson's return?
Yeah, that looked really good, too.
That's somebody that looks like they belong in the NFL. As much as I was just saying, Shedeur threw NFL touchdown passes. He threw into tight windows. He made it look like he belonged.
48 points they put up.
Travion Henderson's return was impressive. And, it's the preseason. I don't want to overreact, but that looked really, really good. I think I like the Patriots on this one, Gino.
Oh, all right.
I think I like the Patriots on this one. I want to believe that Pete Carroll is still able to get through to his guys and build the kind of culture that he had in Seattle. But let's face it, at the end of his time in Seattle, the culture was kind of dust. And he was right about Russell Wilson. I'll give him that. Can he continue to roll with Geno Smith with any degree of success is the $1 million question. I'm not one of the guys that's really high on Ashton Genty. I'm just not. I need to see it in the NFL. If it was Ashton Genty with the return touchdown and not Travion Henderson, I'd be a lot higher on Ashton Genty.
Tomorrow around this time, we'll be talking to Michael F. Florio, NFL Network. Are you making the investment in Bowers again? If you got Bowers last year, you love life, but is he going to duplicate those numbers or come somewhere close with Geno as your quarterback now?
Yeah. He's one hell of a player. I just think New England might have just a little bit more to offer in terms of talent on either side of the ball. Max Crosby's nice, but I'll go New England on that one, Gino.
Okay, so Danger's giving up the 3 points. I will take the 3 points, and then we'll keep this for fun, and I'll bring it up if I come up with a better record, and we'll forget about it if it's Danger. So,
as expected. Do we want a box wine on the overall record?
It's up to you, bud.
Go ahead and get approval from the executive producer before you commit to anything.
Yeah, I mean.
Maybe while you're on the rooftop bar at MoMA and enjoying a $35 domestic beer, you go ahead and ask her, hey, by the way, if I make more picks better, if I make more week 1 picks than Danger, box wine bet. What do you think?
Do you agree at least with my thing, picking week 1 is the toughest of all the weeks here?
It's impossible.
It's tough. And we'll get to it. You realize our passion here in the sports bar, if you're new to the show, it's must listen to. Yeah. You should use us as a resource when it comes to Survivor football. There's only one choice. And it's not this game, I'll tell you that. No way. Don't go anywhere near
Let me think. I remember. It's who's playing the Titans?
That would be Denver.
It's Denver.
Denver at home
against
Cam Ward and Brian Callahan.
Yeah, the only thing I will say, and I mentioned this on Friday, what if Bo Nix is nothing more than Mac Jones? What if Bo Nix isn't as good as what we think he could be? Mac Jones made it to the playoffs in year one, just like Bo Nix, before the Patriots, before he was exposed with the Patriots after that first year. The Broncos and Jones Patriots each got beat by the Bills in the first round of the playoffs when they each made it there as rookies. I'm just not.
Here's why. Here's why. Like, you're looking at one side of the ball. They drafted a corner. They have Surtain, third in the NFL in points allowed, led the league in sacks, 7th in yardage. I mean, this is a defense danger that you're going to want for fantasy purposes. And in that division, they have the best defense in the division right now. And yes, I'll put them ahead of Kansas City.
I don't know. I'm still not buying it. I mean, last year against AFC playoff teams, a loss to the Steelers week 2. They lose to the Chargers week 6. They lose to the Ravens week 9. The Chiefs in week 10, another L. And then the Chargers again week 16. Even the Bengals, who weren't a playoff team, that week 17 game, there was a playoff intensity to it. They lost that game as well.
That was a bad loss for Denver. Yeah, I remember watching that.
And then they faced the Bills in the opening round of the playoffs and get destroyed.
Yeah, and they did beat Mahomes. They got
one up. They got one of two. They split with the Chiefs. So did the Bills. I'm not necessarily buying the hype yet on Denver. And I don't know that Bo Nix is anything more than Mac Jones. Maybe I'm wrong. But for week 1 in Survivor, that feels like
fine.
the easy pick.
We're not going to overthink this. 866-4FAN, 866-4326. Brad in Rochester. What's up, Brad?
Hey, who are the Saints playing?
Arizona.
That's my week 1 best bet. Whoever the Saints are playing against the Saints, take them.
It's Arizona, and here's what I'll say about that, because that matchup is on my mind.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a fantasy player and somebody who streams defenses, but you don't get a team like the Broncos, like you mentioned, they're going to be really good for fantasy. I would say Arizona is the easiest pick for a defensive streamer in fantasy football because, yes, you're going up against the Saints. As far as Survivor, I don't know. I can't say with any certainty that the Cardinals are that much better than the Saints. It's too close to call for me.
It looks like one of those. If Arizona was home, I'd be like, all right, that this is a good kind of landing spot. Thank you, Brad.
Yeah, I can't do it, Brad. I'm not there. I would much rather. I think there's a wider spread as far as talent up for the Broncos versus. I mean, Denver's defense, and we know this about Survivor picks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't pick bad defenses. We said it. Denver's defense is legit.
And they themselves, that's a tough one for Ward to step
against
into.
A rookie.
Yeah.
A Sean Payton team against a rookie? No. I think that Denver is probably the easiest pick there for week 1.
I'm just looking. Arizona, 5.5-point favorite on the road. Cincinnati, a 5.5-point favorite at Cleveland. We don't even know who's starting at quarterback for Cleveland. Washington is giving up 6.5 at home against the Giants.
Nope.
Here's one quick Giants take.
No divisional games in Survivor.
No divisional takes. Divisional games. But a quick take on the Giants. It's the preseason. That's the time where you take chances. And there's Russell Wilson. Dink. He's done. What are you doing? Why are you wasting time if you're a Giants fan with Mr. Unlimited? Yes, it was small sample size. I get it. Like, go with Jameis. And then when the kid is ready, Jackson Dart time. I think Jackson Dart time is going to happen sooner than everyone thinks.
I would say just start Jackson Dart.
But that too, I will listen.
Week 1, Jackson. Except you still have Tommy DeVito to deal with. You have to deal with him.
He had the winning touchdown drive. What are you doing?
You have to deal with him because he's a Italian. Derek Kramer. The Bills Radio Network. Heard him on Saturday. We'll catch up with him next. Get his thoughts on the week 1 preseason loss to the Giants. Everything else going on this preseason as well around the Bills. Derek Kramer next on The Fan.
Sports Update.
Rolling on here as camp continuing with the Bills out in Orchard Park. Practice tomorrow Wednesday, then a trip to Chicago. Joint practices with the Bears coming up at the end of the week. Head coach Sean McDermott on the positives from the Giants preseason game.
You know, a lot of guys got some of their first experience dipping their toe into the NFL for the first time in real live game action, so that was good. Thought the guys fought hard to stay in the game at times and then mount a comeback at the end there. Really appreciate that. That said, there's a lot we can take from this game.
We'll talk more Bills football coming up next. Derek Kramer, WGR on the Bills Radio Network, will be joining us. To baseball, the Yankees clinging to that last wild card spot in the American League. They get the Twins tonight. The Red Wings finally back home tomorrow night against Syracuse. AP preseason college football poll is out. Texas is 1, followed by Penn State and Ohio State. Gene Battaglia in the sports leader, the Fan, Rochester.
Pull up a stool and join us. 585-866-4FAN. 866-432-6. The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
I always love when we get the chance to catch up with Derek Kramer. You hear him on WGR, our Odyssey Sports sister station. You hear him on the Bills Radio Network. Week 1 of the preseason now in the rearview mirror. Derek, anything stand out to you from Saturday's game?
Well, the one thing that needs to stand out is everything and nothing matters all at the same time, of course. So everything that we say should be taken with a grain of salt. But with that said, let's get into it. I think the biggest takeaway for me, though, was injury-free from that game, considering how training camp has gone for the Bills and how that injury list had grown to a rather intimidating size. It's good to know that they came away from that game with no complications, no injuries, and they're healthy at the other end of that than they were entering it.
So let's not press our luck, Derek. If we're going to talk about James Cook here, and we don't know where this story is going unless you have some insight, but really I think most of us are like, all right, well, this is a negotiation. Why would you play Ray Davis or Ty Johnson in this next preseason game? Because, gosh, if one of those two guys were to go down, you never wish that, but the leverage all of a sudden would go for James Cook. Your thoughts on the Cook situation and where do we go from here?
Well, I have to eat some crow on this one, guys, because last time I was on with Gene, I had said it was a non-story. Well, look at that. Good job, me. And but sometimes you just got to take the L. But the James Cook scenario is really becoming bizarre in a different sense of just how the tactics are being employed here by Cook and Cook's agent in particular. I think it's that they're trying one last gasp at trying to get a contract done. And whether the Bills know that they can't afford it or otherwise, it does seem like things are at a standstill. I do think that he still plays week 1, so I'm not too concerned about it. Again, until there's another page in the chapter that surprises all of us, I don't see this being something that lingers into the season. And if that's the case, Cook's getting some terrible advice. Fire the agent.
Yeah, and I was wondering, Derek, if this gets contentious at some point, because you can kind of start to sense McDermott's tired of talking about it. Brandon Beane was caught off guard by this and wasn't happy about this. At some point, do the Bills, because it's within their right to find the guy. I know they don't want any ill will, but he's made it clear he's about his money. Does this get contentious? Does it get worse before it gets better?
I don't think so. I think it is exactly where it is going to be. Where we are now is where we will be, which is both sides are not really moving from their goalposts. Nobody's moving them, and nothing is ultimately going to end up getting done. Could it happen? Yeah, there's a non-zero chance that it happens to be different like that, and it can get contentious. However, again, at that point, as a client, you are getting bad advice from your agent at that point, and we all saw what happened with Le'Veon Bell when he held out into a season and then into the full season. So if there's a route that James Cook and his agent want to play that is not on the typical side of things, it's going to get worse for him before it gets better. And I would err to the side of caution on that sense, because as long as the Buffalo Bills have an offensive line, I'm not going to say that they can easily replace James Cook. His home run ability is something that needs to be appreciated. However, I'm not going to go ahead and start sweating bullets if the running back decides to continue holding out into the season.
Derek, I'm curious to watch tomorrow night because it's the rare instance where we might have news coming out of a reality TV show. Like if they actually follow the agent around, if we're going into Cook's story here with Hard Knocks. And it's interesting to me because Hard Knocks, positive reviews. Bills fans loved it. We loved it here in Rochester. The school had to love it. Nationally, not so much. People were calling it soft knocks, and the show has lost its edge. And boy, if they wanted to kind of bring the edge right back, I'm fascinated to see, Derek, how they're going to play up the angle of Cook and this hold in tomorrow night.
I don't know how much of that drama we'll get. The team does ultimately have some say in the message that gets out for these shows. So I'm not really thinking that the Bills are going to let themselves look like this dramatic mess. While HBO would love it, the team does still have some agency in how that message gets portrayed. So I'm like you, curious. This is going to be a chance to really get into some sort of drama, which is very rare for the Buffalo Bills since, 2017?
Derek, you mentioned the Bills get through mainly scot-free from an injury. I'm wondering what Taron Johnson's situation is going to be this week at practice, given what he went through. But one player that came in with a pretty wild history of injuries was out there in a rare preseason performance. Joey Bosa made his presence known while he was on the field for the limited snaps that he got. What's your take on how the Bills are managing his reps so far this summer, and do you think we'll see more of him leading up to Week 1? Do we need to see more of him leading up to Week 1?
So just to clear up with Taron Johnson, like Sal Capaccio told me at halftime that he was cleared to play if it was a normal game. So he cleared concussion protocol. Everything was fine. It did look like he kind of got the wind knocked out of him and, just like his senses knocked about for a second, but he cleared protocol. So he's probably going to be fine with practice reps. As for Bosa, he looked very solid, and he kind of looks like the player as advertised, and it's always about, can you play a 17-game season? And while I doubt that will be the case, he's yet to do it, you're also only injury-prone until you're not. If Bosa goes through a whole season, the Bills would be the rare benefactor of that, and he is talented enough to at least threaten for double-digit sacks.
Yeah, I mean, to me, listening to the post game, somebody brought up, it was either you or Joe, Leonard Floyd. That's the best case scenario, right? Like, Derek, if you can get double-digit sacks out of that. Sticking with the defensive line, is it okay to overreact to like what we saw out of Deion Walker and, for that matter, T.J. Sanders?
They made some splash plays, and that's exactly what you're looking for in preseason. Is you've got stale schemes. You're not really getting much out of it. It's not going to be a lot of flash and pizzazz or your typical game planning. So can your talented rookies that you drafted or your talented free agents that you signed, can they show a little pop? And we did see that with Sanders getting 2 quarterback hits. We saw that with Walker having 2 really nice plays. On what I did believe I saw 11 pass rush snaps for Walker. I think there's something to it. However, I still want to see more. The biggest problem that the Buffalo Bills had last year was finishing those plays. It's not just about getting quarterback hits or batted passes. It's also about creating that 3rd and long because there's a 7-yard sack, or making sure to finish the drive because the quarterback was taken down. Sanders' hit is impressive, but it's the second most impressive thing on that play because Jackson Dart stands tall, knows he's about to take a shot, and delivers a dot for a touchdown.
Yeah. I'm curious if you can handicap, Derek, for us the return race here between Laviska Shenault, Codrington, the incumbent, and KJ Hamler, who's been hanging around as well. Did your eyes see anything on Saturday that led you to believe that one has an advantage over the other?
I don't think so. They're going to need more opportunities in order to have somebody gain or lose ground. There was a lot of that going on in that Bills game. There was a lot of steady as it goes for the ground that's being made up or not being made up. The quarterbacks, for example, that race is pretty even. It stayed that way after Saturday. And in the return game, I don't think there were enough opportunities to really gauge anything on who has the edge or not in the return game.
Derek, my expectation with the quarterbacks is this. I'm not expecting there to be one of these two guys to pop. We'll probably see some things we like, probably see things we don't like. Mitch Trubisky revenge game. I don't know if he's going to be throwing it all around. My question is this. Let's get to the end of the story here, and things are the same, and we're calling this a draw. Do the Bills lean in the favor of, Mike White's more affordable, or do they lean in the way of, okay, Trubisky has got more experience in this league?
If they play like they did on Saturday, you feel a lot better about the conversation. If both of them were to flounder, say, like last year's preseason, you get a lot more nervous about backup quarterback, because then you're like, I can't even survive 4 plays without Josh Allen, let alone any sort of games, goodness forbid, if that were to happen. But this is looking like it's more promising in the fact of both guys did show pretty well here, and I would probably lean toward the incumbent anyway, but Buffalo does have a chance probably to stash White on a practice squad roster if it's capable for them to do so.
He's Derek Kramer, WGR in Buffalo, also the Buffalo Bills radio network, stopping by the sports bar to give us his thoughts on the Bills preseason so far. Corner position is one that's interesting, and we've been paying a lot of attention to it from the time that they were here in Rochester. Of course, the Hairston injury puts a little bit of a damper on the competition to see who starts opposite Christian Benford. It looks like it's Trey White's job to lose. But behind White, when you know Hairston is probably going to be ready for at least the beginning of the season, what do you make of Dane Jackson? We saw him get beat deep to Lil Jordan Humphrey in that touchdown pass by the Giants on Saturday, and I'm wondering if the Bills opt to go with one of the younger options as far as who makes the final 53 and who ends up on the practice squad.
I think it is ultimately going to play that way, that Dane Jackson is on the other side of the cut line, because I also look at the deployment, and that's something that we need to keep an eye on through the rest of the preseason. But it did look like it was Dane Jackson aside Dorian Strong oftentimes, and then Jamarcus Ingram was coming in. He was playing alongside Strong as well. So it seems like obviously you want to give the rookie as many reps as possible, but it feels like it might be a battle between Ingram and Jackson for who stays on this roster, and I'm leaning toward the UB product on that one.
Yeah. Derek Kramer, WGR, Bills Radio Network, Bills and Bears Sunday night, where, Derek, you got to stay up late here, buddy, about that.
I'm used to it.
It's funny. We don't even talk about Josh Allen at all. Even though they're great camp and everything's great, everything's fine, we don't need to see Josh Allen this preseason, correct? Or might we see him this week?
We don't need to see him. I mean, I feel like if the starters played in a quarter, you'd want Allen to be there. But if the Bills are comfortable enough to not do that, then they're not going to do it. They're pretty much going to reserve this for what they need, and that is you've got joint practices this week against the Bears. You have control, also known as Allen doesn't get hit in live action. I would absolutely think that Allen not only does not play this game, but does not play in any of the preseason. Why? I've got the reigning MVP. I know what he's about. He doesn't have to prove anything to anyone, and he's also getting all the reps and chemistry that he needs in practice. And joint practices are a brilliant way to have it both ways, where you are facing off against different opponents and you are having a little bit more of a live session. However, the quarterback still will not take hits and be put into needless danger.
Derek, I know it's 1 week of the preseason, and like we started the conversation by saying we're not overreacting to anything, but it was an issue last year, and that was the Bills getting off the field on third down. The Giants were nearly 50% on converting third down, so the Bills' defense struggling on third down. The Bills' offense only 1 for 9 on third downs. Again, that probably changes when Josh Allen is behind center. Anything there that you're watching on, specifically on the defensive side of the ball, in terms of the Bills' ability to get off the field on third and long?
It comes down to this. We mentioned how there were a couple bright spots when it came to some plays made by T.J. Sanders and Deion Walker. However, it's not enough. Pass rush. Pass rush has to be better, because the Giants dropped back 51 times on Saturday between 4 quarterbacks, and none of them took a sack. And that has to be better, especially when you revamp the entire defensive end room. But now bigger eyes are going to be on the depth that was held over from last year. Javon Solomon, A.J. Epinesa have to be better in order to secure a spot on this roster.
Yeah, another roster question here. Derek Kramer, Bills Radio Network, WGR. Curtis Samuel, we're projecting how many wide receivers are on this team, and if you really want Tyrell Shavers, well, but cutting him is going to come at a prohibitive, cost. It's going to hurt your cap. Basically, is what I'm saying. Where do they go with Samuel? Could we see a trade, or even that will be so lopsided, knowing that he does have that big cap number?
Part of your return would be that cap space. So if there were to be a trade for Samuel, don't expect anything higher than like maybe a 6th-round pick. And there might even be a pick swap involved in that to get a low-end pick because your benefit is cap space. It is not any acquisition that you'd be making for Curtis Samuel. I do think that when Samuel is healthy, he is a valuable depth receiver because you saw it at the end of the year last year. Once he was healthy, that turf toe, it was gone. He was a much better player. He was a much more impactful player. If they can get him on the field and have him healthy, he's good enough to make the Bills have to challenge, are we keeping 6? And at that point, Tyrell Shavers is still the favorite to be that 6th.
And Derek, if we talk about moving off of Samuels through a deal or maybe holding on to Mike White instead of Mitch Trubisky to shave a little bit of money on the cap, all of these cap gymnastics, do you think that some of that is a factor in trying to get James Cook an extension before the season starts? Probably not,
because Cook's extension has to do with next year, and outside of Curtis Samuel, a lot of the numbers that we're talking about there for those types of players, that doesn't have anything to do with next year, and I don't see it as the Bills acknowledging that they don't know if they can retain a running back in this day and age on a second contract. But also you look at the reality of many teams and their running backs with second contracts. Oftentimes you don't see the end of it on the team that you signed it with anyway. If Christian McCaffrey can't make it through the second contract that he signed with the Carolina Panthers, he gets traded, I do believe, a year into that one, then nobody is safe from that work. And I expect that the Bills understand that the way that the running back economy works nowadays is you let another team sign that contract and you reload to the draft.
It's tough for a team that's right in the window here, Derek, that you don't want to upset anything. The Bills opening up against the Ravens coming up on September 7th. Our guest is Derek Kramer. He is with the Buffalo Bills Radio Network and WGR. As Derek, before McDermott, it was always kind of a fun exercise, like how many players would you guess would be on the opening day roster than are on another team's roster right now. Like either you're getting guys through waivers, signing it off of somebody else's practice squad, maybe a trade. Hard for me to imagine that the Bills have that need, but if there is an area that you would like to see the Bills perhaps upgrade, is it a wide receiver? Or I'm going to throw you one here, safety. Do we feel comfortable with what is back there right now, Derek?
The safety question is an interesting one because Cole Bishop has a strange problem right now. He's not able to get through a training camp healthy, and availability is the best ability. The Bills might want to go ahead and know, can I add extra depth based on what is on the safety market after training camp cuts are made? Obviously, the names would have to be part of the story as well. But otherwise, I think that Buffalo is ultimately happy with what they have right now on their roster and what they would end up with on the 53. But big names sometimes end up surprise cuts for a reason, and we'll have to see what plays out there. But I would look at safety as well. When you threw that out there, it was exactly where I was going with that one. Receiver, probably not. I think they like their depth. With the Shavers being so challenging right now, and even Hamler trying to keep himself onto an NFL roster, I think that they're happy with that as well.
Derek, Gino mentioned it. It's going to be a late night for you on Sunday. We get the Sunday night primetime preseason game with the Bills heading to Chicago for a little joint practice here later on this week. Really appreciate you giving us some of your time and insight this afternoon here in the Sports Bar.
I mean, it's not Bills season if I'm not sitting in Amherst for 12 hours of my Sunday or my game day. So we're right back at it.
Derek, thanks. Let's do this again soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Got it. And Derek, I know he doesn't take it for granted. We get to do this. We get to talk about the Bills. We get to talk about the preseason games. We get to overreact to what happened in preseason action. It's the best. It's fuel to the fire.
I know, like some caller, like, oh, the screen pass.
That was good. That was an impersonation of angry Bills fan.
Yeah. Like there was somebody
Because they couldn't defend the screen pass. So you were listening to the post game, and that was the post game.
That was a post game. I like when whether it was Derek this week or normally it's Nate Geary. Like, I don't.
Look, I don't want. Again, I'm not going to overreact, but my eyes told me that what we saw to the Bills' inability to get off the field on third down, that's the same as it was last year.
I'm going to go back to a conversation we had with Eric Turner from Cover One on Friday.
Yeah.
Asked him, okay, about the safeties. Please explain why is it that they say that it's more important the Bills' defense than your typical, another NFL defense? He's like, well, that's a loaded question. He goes into all the reasons, but basically it's all the pre-snap stuff. It's all like, hey, quarterback, we're going to make sure we're going to think we're going to be in this, but we're actually going to do this. And like they're trying to like move around, do everything else until we actually get to that. And that's why not having Cole Bishop out there is actually kind of a big deal.
Or Rapp. I mean, neither of them out there for Saturday's game against the Giants. So hopefully the Bills get healthy here through the course of the rest of the preseason. Mentioned the joint practices with the Bears coming up at the end of the week, and then, of course, Sunday night. You'll be able to hear the action here on the Fan Rochester. We'll have pregame coverage for you 2 hours before kickoff on Sunday night.
Well, we have a second danger because you realize, like, we are less than 3 weeks away from week 0.
College football.
Like,
let's talk about it.
Yeah, we have our preseason poll out, AP, and look, here's my take on the poll. This is the original Takesman. Like, here's our poll. React to it.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
The poll is nothing more than a take.
That's all it is.
Yep.
That's all this is. 10 teams from the SEC in the top 25.
Yeah.
Texas gets the 1. And for James Franklin, congratulations. The expectations have never been higher at Penn State. Penn State nestled in at number 2. Penn State ahead of the defending national champions, Mike Danger.
Yeah.
Wait a second. You would think you would at least give Ohio State kind of the benefit, but no, we've got to have that take. The Penn State is better than Ohio.
And I know that probably upsets a lot of Buckeye fans. I'm pulling for Penn State, man. I almost feel bad. I almost feel like this is every year. Every year, expectations are high. And I understand I'm in close proximity. Penn State is very important in my extended family. My niece goes to Penn State. I hear about every game. I hear about every player. And all of them believe this is the year. And those of us on the outside, from beyond the blast zone, from outside of Happy Valley, I just see the same Penn State that I see every year. Lots of high expectations and can't win the big game. Can't beat Ohio State. Can't beat Michigan. Oregon is going to be the big one this year. That's the big whiteout primetime game. Like, are you going to be able to beat Oregon at home?
And then if they do, yes, it's on. If not, hey, they're still good enough to get into the postseason as they did last year.
Yeah. And that's great. You can cut some fillets with the steak knives you get after the season's over, Franklin.
But can we take anything seriously if there were 4 voters who voted for Clemson at number 1?
A lot of people high on Clemson.
I get that. And maybe they can defend themselves because Clemson in the ACC will be like, oh, look, we are.
They should roll the ACC. They should absolutely roll the ACC. If they don't, then what are we doing? But I love that we're talking about it, Gino. I love that we're just a few weeks away from week 0. It's almost here.
Yeah, that game in Ireland is coming up.
Dude,
It's
just
here.
watching preseason football this weekend in the garage. The Bills game happened in the afternoon. I'm like, look, I know I'm going to watch the Bills game, but I'm not going to watch it from 1 to 4 o'clock. I'm not going to spend my entire afternoon. There's just too much going on. The weather is too nice. It's still summer after all. And wait until it gets dark and go in the garage, crack open a cold one and watch and skip through the ads. And that's everything. I'm so excited that football is indeed. We are so back, Gino. We are so back.
12 days from week 0.
Okay.
Yeah, Ohio
Less
State,
than
Kansas
2 weeks.
State. Yeah, less than 2 weeks.
Happy Hour is next on the Fan Rochester. You can join us at 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326. We'll talk about Saturday's loss to the Giants, week 1 of the preseason, and we'll take your calls. Round of shots coming up and last call, all on the way before 6 here on the Fan.
Powered by Billetier Electric, Rochester and Western New York's electric leader. This is the Fan Rochester. WROC AM, WBEE HD2, and W239BF Rochester. The sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. The Fan Rochester. Sports update.
It's a different week ahead here for the Buffalo Bills. Practice in Orchard Park tomorrow, Wednesday, then a trip to Chicago. Joint practices with the Bears at the end of the week. Yankees, they're in a tailspin right now, but they do get the Twins tonight. Here's manager Aaron Boone.
We're in a playoff position right now, and we've been through a bad 2 months where we haven't performed at a level we need to. But look at last year. Go back the year before. The year before, you can pick out a number of teams that are sitting in a worse position than we are right now that go on that run. We have the people to do that.
Rochester Red Wings finally back home beginning tomorrow night when the Syracuse Mets come to town. AP preseason college football poll is out. Texas is one, followed by Penn State and defending champion Ohio State. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
Now, I'd say this to Yankee fan. You could be upset at the way the team has performed, and certainly you have every right to feel the way that you feel. I don't know that I'd go as far as to wear a paper bag on your head, but if you get over on the Twins, every now and then a good slump buster, that's really all you need. And they've historically owned Minnesota, right? Yeah. Owned Minnesota. I'd start panicking if you lose your series against the Twins. Then I'd be like, okay, I'm fully out on this team.
I mean, this could be the beginning of what could be a nice turnaround because after this, they go to go see the mouth breathers, as you call them, the Cardinals. We're still farting around there. They go down to Tampa, which is actually their home, right?
Yeah.
Which is weird. Boston, the Nationals, the White Sox.
Yeah.
You get Houston again. You get Toronto again. You get Detroit again. You better and Detroit right after that. So you get really some good teams coming up here after this
to take advantage of.
Yeah.
If you're what Aaron Boone says they are. But if you can't get over on the Twins, yeah, then I'm out. I'm out. I haven't been out yet. I'm not wearing I wouldn't wear a paper bag on my head if I was a Yankee fan. But I wouldn't be panicking unless the Twins found a way to get over on you. Then it's like, okay, now what the hell are we doing? The Twins? That never happens. We welcome you back in. It's happy hour in the sports bar. Danger and Battaglia. Glad you're with us. You can listen along in the Odyssey app, iHeartRadio. Tune in. You can watch. Our stream is up every afternoon from 3 until 6 on our YouTube channel and on Twitch at The Fan Rochester. Like and subscribe while you're there. Our training camp coverage is brought to you by Ace Swim and Leisure. Get the most out of summer. Ace has beautiful outdoor furniture, fire pits, parts, accessories, chemicals, everything you need for your pool. Chili Ave and Ridge Road, Webster, aceswim.com.
Yeah, as tomorrow's going to feel like kind of like a football week. McDermott will talk. Josh Allen will talk. Even though we had Sean McDermott on last week, do we go back to playing Sean McDermott and
McLies?
Yeah, McLies.
Some McDermott McLies. I mean, you could probably find. I think McDermott, at the end of his James Cook commentary that we played earlier today, and this was...
Well, he makes it clear, like, this is all I'm going to say, and then he's getting pressed, and he's like, he's done with it. Yeah, at that point.
Yeah, the situation is a situation. He ends it... Well, let's listen to it. This is Sean McDermott talking about the James Cook situation. This, I believe, was after Saturday's
This is after the loss.
Update on James. That's probably a question you guys have. James and I had a good conversation. We talked about warming up. He agreed to warm up, but not play due to his situation right now. So that's where we're at. So no change really overall.
What is? Can you elaborate on that if maybe you don't care to? But when you say to not play, is there? What's the compromise there? You just wanted him out there, make sure he was there, or?
No, he was. We wanted him to play. I wanted him to play, but I don't really want to, go into it any further. There's really no change at this point in time from what it was going into this weekend and the game today. So, he warmed up, like I said, but at this point, due to his situation and the position he's in, was not willing to play. So that's where we're at. Again, it was a good conversation, but really no change overall.
Just what change do you expect him to practice?
Yeah, again, let's just move on. We can talk about the guys who played. I think that's the right thing to do and the fair thing to do right now. So James's situation is James's situation, and let's talk about the team.
Yeah, it's okay. One observation: couple Kevin Adams in there. What the conversation? When you use the word conversation, that is a loser word.
You're not doing anything.
Winners don't have conversations. Losers have. Not that the Bills are losers, but the situation is a losing situation.
Yeah. And I love that he ends it. James Cook's situation is James' situation. That's what you say when you're tired of talking about it or you just don't want to acknowledge that it's a bad situation. If you have multiple children, you might have one who does something great and another one who's a little bit of a screw-off. And
no, see, I like the analogy that if you have a boss, but you can't say anything negative about the boss.
Yeah.
How's so-and-so? Well, Joe's Joe.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Like you have a boss, but you don't want to badmouth the boss.
Right.
Joe's Joe.
Yeah. How's that going for you? Well, Gene's Gene. And then you're like, okay, that's code. And McDermott is code. He's using code, therefore. He doesn't want to talk about this anymore. He's frustrated by it. I'm sure Brandon Beane is we knew how frustrated he was when this happened, when this started.
Yeah, McDermott has nothing to do with the contract.
Right.
He can't comment on this. This is not his job. And for Cook, it's pretty apparent, right? Go out there and dress, and they can't find you. Some point they might be able to.
Yeah, I think at some point if they wanted to make it clear, James, we expect you on the field. We expect you to get some reps. I don't know that it's the preseason, but if this continues on into week 1, you don't want this as a distraction going into Sunday night against Baltimore.
Derek Kramer brought up a good point. I'm like, are we going to learn about anything about this tomorrow night? And, the Bills do have pull when it comes to editorial control on Hard Knocks. So hard for me to imagine that we're going to have the agent mic'd up as much as I want to see that. It's a story danger where I think that the two sides, I think people were jumping to conclusions here. We saw Kyron Williams getting his deal. Okay, well, quite often you see that leading to something. But we didn't hear that when we were out there. Nobody was saying, like, hey, sit tight here.
Yeah, I also think, knowing that Williams is now the 7th highest paid running back in the league, there's no way James Cook is going to settle for less than that guy.
By the way, nor should he. Nor should he. If it's not Buffalo, and maybe that ultimately is the resolution that he's going to come back and he's going to say, I'm going to ball out, but, and implying that this will be my last year, which we thought all along. The whole strategy from the Cook camp has been kind of strange, right? Like, if he did this from the outset of camp, would we be saying as much? But like, what all of a sudden led them to take this course of action here a week into camp?
The Bills fall in week 1 of the preseason to the New York Giants, and if you listen carefully, you can hear Jackson Dart completing another screen pass. I just think that, the Bills, with no game planning going into the preseason games and giving guys an opportunity to kind of show what they're made of. A handful of guys raised their hand and really showed up and showed out. I was impressed by Joey Bosa's ability while he was out there. We don't get to see him in the preseason that often. That was fun.
No, look, they didn't get to the quarterback, but to me it's just as good when you can induce a 10-yard holding call.
Deion Walker got his big mitt up and deflected a pass and made his presence felt when he was out there. TJ Sanders did likewise. So they made the most of their opportunities.
Corey Couch. I like the Corey Couch. Is he going to do enough to make this roster, though?
Yeah, I mean, when you view his play and then you
view the
play of Dane Jackson.
It's the same corner in the end zone. Like, oh, wait, there's Travis, what's his name there with that dating the pop star, running right through.
Joe Andreessen, another great game. 5 tackles, 1 for a loss. Can't forget about our guy. He had a pretty nice game, too. Nice second half. Jimmy Charlo.
You realize if we do make the cut tomorrow night, people are going to be like, well, round's on you, Danger.
How so?
Well, like if we're the media members that actually end up on our
Oh, right, right. Yeah, I'm not holding my breath. I know it would be fun, and I know that if it's going to happen.
But I don't think it's going to happen.
If it's going to happen, it's going to happen next week. And we talked to Jenna Cottrell from 13 Women Buffalo Plus, and Mike Catalana every year famously has Brandon Bean come over to the backyard and do their interview with Brandon Bean in Mike's backyard, which is awesome. You know, it's close by the campus there. It's a lot of fun, and we know that the Hard Knocks cameras were there filming and wiring everybody up for sound. If it's them, if it's us, if it's neither of us, it wouldn't shock me if it's neither of us, to be honest with you, because there's 300 hours of footage that they have to go through to get 1 hour of programming. Yeah, chances are our little clip with Joe Andreessen is going to hit the cutting room floor.
Well, just how camp is here and we love it, and then all of a sudden it's gone. That's what's going to happen. It's like, hey, we're going to enjoy watching this tomorrow night, and then you're going to see the movie truck, and that's it. Like, oh, wow, we had 2 episodes. That was it.
Yeah, well, I'm happy. Look, I mean, it was great to have football back. I know that the fans that did go, I mean, we had Brad from Rochester call us last hour. I know he went. I'm like, how much sunscreen did you apply before you went into the stadium just to ensure that you would get a good, solid, even roast? Because it had to have been.
Oh, you're baking there.
Yeah.
You are baking. Like, you know how they always show you, like, oh, here's the thermometer on the field, and it's much hotter. Like, okay, in that concrete bowl, the way that is, and when you're watching it on TV, too, the way the sun hits, it's the angle. That's why by the second half, like.
It was sparse. Yeah. There was not a lot of fans.
All on the other side. That's got, well, the majority of them, like, if you're looking right up in the sun, like, okay, I'm out. We're going to move here.
Yeah. But a fun afternoon, the only preseason game, the last preseason game at the old stadium. And I know that this is an ongoing theme, but I'm telling you, I think that is going to play a factor in what motivates this team. Part of what motivates this team this year is that the history of that place, of the fans and their engagement with Highmark Stadium.
True or false, the toughest game for the Buffalo Bills, two questions, this year at home is actually week 1. And if the Bills somehow come up with that, would you put the odds north of 50% that the Bills would run the table at home?
I said it before the season started. You know my answer. They're not losing at home.
Well, Baltimore, though, that's the game, right? That's the one you got to get.
I know. That's tough.
Yeah.
It's a tough way to start the season. But it's the last year at Highmark. There's something magical in the air on Sunday night for that week 1 matchup. You can't rule the Bills out. You can't assume that it's going to be like it was early in the regular season last year. They just beat them. Their second to last game last year. They've got familiarity now. They kind of know. It's going to be great. And it's going to be here before we know it, too, by the way. I mean, week 2 of the preseason this weekend, the Bills traveling to Chicago. They will have the joint practice with the Bears here at the end of the week, and then we get the primetime game on Fox on Sunday night.
Wow.
Week 2 of the preseason is already here. We were talking last hour about week 0 in college football being less than 2 weeks away.
12 days away. Yeah, 12 days away, college football. K-State, Iowa State, the game in Dublin. And you know what? We'll all be watching it. We'll talk to PJ Glasser coming up Wednesday.
Yeah,
we'll be
give
very
us some
excited.
winners.
Yeah.
Laviska Shenault caught my eye on Saturday. I know that they have Codrington as the incumbent. I know that they have KJ Hamler, who's kind of been around and on the practice squad, but Shenault feels like he could make a case.
Shavers has gone from the ha, yeah, you're the camp darling to, okay, maybe he does offer this team something in terms of winning games. And I thought Brownie brought up a good point on his show today. Like, we all just kind of assume, like, okay, no problem, I'll go on the practice squad. There's some team paying attention that he's a wide receiver. Like, are we sure that Shavers wouldn't get picked off of some other team signing away from the practice?
The New York Giants have a history of doing that.
Yeah.
I think they probably could do that if they wanted to. Who was the guy that they poached off of
Isaiah Hodgins.
Isaiah
Hodgins.
That's right. Who's, I think his star shone bright for maybe 2 weeks, and then he just kind of disappeared into the ether.
Elijah Moore, I want to see more out of. Not trying to do a pun there. It's the Curtis Samuel question, Danger. Like, how comfortable are you? And can you find another team that's willing to do a late-round pick swap in order to create a little bit of cap space? Because you may need to go shopping at the trade deadline again. Hard to say. I don't know what Samuel has at this point.
You need to trade that guy. You just need to trade that guy. He just doesn't feel like he's a fit. He hasn't felt like a fit from day one. A little bit of production towards the end of last year and in the postseason, but no. I think you've graduated from the need for Curtis Samuel, and that deal is ugly for the Bills to get out from. You have to trade him, and you have to kind of grit your teeth and get a deal done. It's not going to be pretty.
Like, this is a political show, right? We're ready to call the race. I'm ready to call the race at tight end. It's Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox, Jackson Hawes. Like Zach Davidson, I'm sorry, you were the fourth, and to have not one but two bad drops for the one thing that you're here for, I'm sorry. Tough sport, this game of football.
And this might be the only time we mention the name Jacob Bayer today in the sports bar, unfortunately. And, man, I know you were at the game. I don't know if you watched it, a replay of it later. But he on the sideline after he snapped the ball way over Shane Buechele's head, like almost he knew at that moment, I am not long for this team. This was bad. It was bad, and he recognized it, and he looked shell-shocked from that mistake.
If anything, McDermott has shown he's willing to give guys another chance. I point to Cam Lewis, and that wasn't a preseason game. It was a regular season game against the Dolphins, roughing the punter. If you lost your mind.
Yeah.
I mean, if they like something in the guy, he's not making the 53. I thought Bayer, because we talked to Talbot and others, like, hey, Cedric Van Pam Granger, he's not available. Like, if he's not here, could this kid actually be the backup center to Connor McGovern? Bottom line, Connor McGovern, stay healthy, buddy.
And if you can, get better soon, Cedric, please. Lenny Jackson didn't make much of a splash either, and always hate to see a turnover called back because of a penalty, but that's what happened when he lined up offsides. Jordan Hancock getting a pick.
Hancock and I think Strong were okay.
Yeah.
They were okay.
Yeah. Dane Jackson getting beat, no bueno. I don't like that.
He bounced back next time.
Yeah. So there you go. The little recap of Saturday's preseason opener for the Buffalo Bills.
Dwayne Carter might be the guy that's on the outside looking in, because I think with Deion Walker and T.J. Sanders, Daquan and Ed Oliver, those are your four defensive tackles, right? Where does Carter fit in here? like with Hoyt and with Ogunjobi, that's going to be a problem down the road, and we'll get to it when we get to it.
Yeah. So, and I think we're all in agreement. We don't need to see Josh Allen. Will we say Caleb Williams on Sunday night against the Bills? That is a Bears fan. That's kind of what I'm wondering. But
oh no, I'm gonna be like watching this like as a horror movie, like with my hands up to my face as I'm showing right now. I'm worried about this kid for you. Like some of this footage that they show, but then again, are they just taking snippets of all his like worst reps there?
I mean, I don't know what to believe and what's real and what's not. The clip that went viral of him having a tantrum after missing the net, the throwing to the target net, his explanation was that they were having a game. They were playing like a joyful, like it wasn't like part of practice, and he just got upset like you would if you lost a bet. Like when you lose a bet, you are animated, and he was very animated when he threw and he missed the net. And all I'm thinking is, yeah, that would check out if that's indeed accurate, but I would like for you to throw a better spiral than a tantrum.
Yeah, it's not that tough a throw.
Yeah.
Could you at least hit the net?
like to be able to spin it better than have a tantrum.
We put this storyline to rest long ago. Matt Milano, danger. Wow. I don't need to see Matt Milano the rest of this preseason.
No, but these guys need to stay healthy.
Yeah.
I mean, Milano got injured in a practice last preseason. These guys need to stay healthy. He and Trey need to stay healthy, and Trey needs to be up for it because Harrison can't get well soon enough because I know that Trey right now looks like your week one guy. That's totally fine. That's totally good. But he is going to get peppered. They are going to target him because they don't want to go to Christian Benford's side of the field.
Right. And for Trey White, is he going to be mentally tough enough? Like, okay, I got beat on that last one, or I missed the tackle here, whatever it may be. Can I bounce back? Yeah. And I think with Tre'Davious White, that's part of the equation too. He needs to feel like he's playing like Trey White.
I feel as if it's been such a great feel-good story through preseason, and Hard Knocks certainly amplifies that. But we shouldn't be surprised if we get to games that matter and Trey White looks closer to the Trey White we last saw last season than what we've seen in camp. What he's doing in camp is great. He's doing it against teammates. What's he going to do against actual opponents, actual wide receivers?
Yeah, Lamar Jackson, if he gives him a pump fake and oops, there he goes.
Right. I'm bracing. I hope I'm wrong, but I'm bracing for it. I'm bracing for Trey White looking more like what we saw, despite the camp that he's had. He's had an exceptional camp. But what we saw last year, I don't think what we saw last year was entirely a mirage. He can't help it. He's just at that stage of his career where he's just not going to have everything that he had when he was younger.
Were you buying McDermott's explanation? I got to be honest. I was stunned. Bill scored a touchdown. Dawson Knox. Yay. Wait a second. 22's going out there. Yeah. Oh, my gosh. They're actually going to do this. Yeah. The Ray Davis extra point. And McDermott's explanation is like, well, we're going to need we need a kicker in an emergency situation. I just wanted to see how it looked. Okay, I suppose. And that'll be the last time we see Ray Davis, the kicker here.
Here's a couple of minutes on Ray Davis and his kicking role from Saturday's preseason game.
You know, me and McDermott talked about it a little bit. We were really trying to figure out if we were able to have enough time to put my shoe on in case, like, if I were to score, would we have enough time to run off, get the shoe on, get back and kick it. So once Dawson scored, we were on the sideline trying to get my shoe on. I think it was halfway on when I kicked. I didn't even fully kick the ball with my shoe fully on.
So how would you assess the full, I guess, run of it there?
You know what? I think I can go 45-yarder now. I believe now. It was cool. I mean, it was a great experience to be able to do it in the preseason game. Again, let's pray that I never have to do it again. We have a wonderful kicker within T-Bass, but if anything ever does happen, at least McDermott knows I'll be able to kick a field goal if he needs it.
Ray, can you give us your background in kicking?
Yeah, no, I played soccer when I was younger. In high school, I was our kicker. I was our punter. So I've always had that background of being able to kick the ball, and I've always been trying to, every year in college, convince somebody to let me kick the ball. And it took about 5 years of college of people saying no, 2 years in the NFL finally for somebody to say yes. So that's my background right there.
It's pretty wild that it was in the NFL where it actually happened.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. All I can think about is either I'm going to have a great night tonight and have a bunch of Instagram followers, or my DMs are going to be talking about how I cannot kick a ball. That was my thought process throughout the whole time. But once I saw it going in, Brad was like, holy, it went in. And we were like, holy. It did go in, so we that was pretty cool.
It could have ended up with a chance at a game-winning field goal. Were you ready if that was the case?
Yeah, I was ready. I don't know if the shoe would have been ready at that time, but I was ready to go. I really did want one more try at it. I was hoping we got put in a position where it was potentially longer than a 25, 30-yarder, but again, my time is my time, and I enjoyed it.
How did you earn the opportunity to win the job of emergency kicker? Were there tryouts, or how did you get the opportunity over other guys?
Yeah, I mean, I had asked during OTAs and mini camp, like, let me kick the ball. So we tried with kickoff, and I did pretty well during kickoff. And then the day of the red and blue scrimmage, we went out there, and I think I went 2 for 3, and I think that's all it was, to try to win the second job.
Ray, what was going through your mind?
Put the shoe on. I think we had 10 seconds left on the clock. Probably expedite my steps and just take a deep breath and don't try to kick it hard, just go right down the middle.
This spring, was there competition in this room for the backup kicker? Did you think you had real competition?
I mean,
who was out there?
I mean, when you got guys like Dawson and Dalton who say they can kick, you kind of get a little bit intimidated. And then you see them kick it with their toe, and I was like, oh, I won this job automatically. So I knew it was no real competition at that time.
Ray Davis.
Wow, so many questions about the 1 point back up.
We have officially answered. This is some hot kicker talk.
Yeah.
We are in some hot kicker talk right now, Gino. Because not only do you have Ray Davis doing what he did on Saturday, which was exquisite.
Yeah, this is even hotter.
Oh, my God. The greatest field goal in the history of the NFL happened this weekend. It's a preseason game. It doesn't count. But Cam Little of Jacksonville hit from 70.
70. How easily could have put more on that.
70. Don't think about that. Think about how a 50-yarder used to feel like, oh, I don't know, that's kind of outside his range. And then you're like, okay, well, 50-yarders are getting made more and more routine by these kickers. This dude goes 70? Now, whether or not they would ever try that in a regular season game where it matters, but knowing you got a guy that could hit from 70, that's a weapon. My God. Cam Little raising a glass.
Youngest kicker ever to be drafted. He's still only 21.
Oh, he's a baby.
Yeah.
My God.
Never missed an extra point in Arkansas. Yeah, it's a position that with the science or whatever, it's just going to get better and better. Back to Ray Davis. That's performing under pressure. That's that's a McDermott thing, right? Like being uncomfortable situation. Like Davis brought it up, like, oh no, I don't want to be like a meme and missing it, kind of making sure that he's not getting messages for looking bad.
I just say Ray Davis is the latest in this preseason's chapter, the book entitled "We Dare You to Hate Us." It's just another fun story about this team. And that's going to get highlighted in Hard Knocks. You absolutely know that's going to make an episode of Hard Knocks, maybe even Tuesday's episode.
See, if this were baseball, right? Somebody's throwing at somebody's head or something like an unwritten rule. I viewed that, and then at the end of the first half, okay, now it's going to be Caden Davis, the actual kicker, coming out. Oh, no, I'm Brian Dable. I want to ice you. Timeout. I'm like, it's preseason. Yeah. What are we doing icing the kicker?
There was another note, not really game related, but it was from a viewer's experience related, and maybe you noticed this when you're in the stadium. The long delay for the digital chain gang, the virtual chain gang.
No, at the stadium it was painful. We all knew what they were doing, and it was like, come on, spit it out.
They showed it on the big screen, but it took forever. And by the time you could have had the two, old guys go out there and trot out there.
You didn't even need to. What was it, 13 inches?
It was over a foot.
Yeah, like a foot. Like, what are we doing? Okay, we know what. We just need to test this out.
Yeah, we need to speed that up. That's unacceptable. But it is the preseason for everybody, even the officials and the broadcasters.
How could they have this right with ABS in baseball and in tennis when the U.S. Open starts in a couple of weeks? Like things that we're accustomed to as sports fans. Yet the NFL.
The way tennis does it is slick. It's right there.
It's right there.
You
Bam.
don't wait. Yeah, you don't wait. It doesn't hold up anything. It doesn't slow down the pace of play. That was painful, and they need to correct that if they're going to continue through the course of the regular season. We got to get to a round of shots next.
Yeah, we've got two baseball teams. I thought for sure you would be hammering me today. So
no, I can't say anything. My Cubs lost a series to the Cardinals, and the Brewers don't lose. So what am I saying?
A sport moving away from pay-per-view. I thought we would never see this.
Moving away from pay-per-view?
Oh, yeah. Oh. Yeah, we'll explain. If you're a fan of this sport, this is a great day for you. We'll explain. We've got something else out of that Steeler-Jag game. The Mike Tomlin post-game presser. I always love pointing out these things here, too. And, hey, we don't talk about NASCAR unless something like this happens, which it did at Watkins Glen.
We'll get to a round of shots. Last call on the way before 6 o'clock as well. You can have the final word in the sports bar. Call us 866-4326. 585-866-4FAN.
A different week ahead here for the Buffalo Bills. Practice tomorrow. We'll hear from Sean McDermott and Josh Allen tomorrow. Practice on Wednesday. And a flight to Chicago. Joint practices at the end of the week against the Bears. Sean McDermott on the positives from the Giant preseason game.
You know, a lot of guys got some of their first experience dipping their toe into the NFL for the first time in real live game action, so that was good. Thought the guys fought hard to stay in the game at times and then mount a comeback at the end there. Really appreciate that. That said, there's a lot we can take from this game.
AP preseason college football poll is out. Texas is the number 1 team, followed by Penn State and Ohio State. 10 teams of the 25 are from the SEC. Yankees trying to turn it around. They take on the Twins tonight. The Red Wings back home tomorrow, taking on Syracuse. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Listen to the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. The Fan, Rochester.
Yeah, if you missed our conversation from earlier with Jenna Cottrell, you can find that wherever you get your shows. Just search out the Sports Bar. Happy hour continues. Let's get to a round of shots, Gino.
Of course, the Bills were like a winner, right? No one got hurt. It's like that's what we're hoping for preseason NFL games. Do we say the same thing about old-timer games now? Oh, my gosh.
This is ridiculous.
It's a tradition with the Yankees. But what's different now for the Yankee old-timer games are, I guess we're all growing older. My gosh, the guys we watched are playing in this game?
When they showed Johnny Damon, I'm like, is Ozzy Osbourne resurrected from the dead? Is he going on tour? What are we looking at here?
Showing his First Nation roots there, Danger. One of those being guys we were watching, former closer Mariano Rivera.
Unbelievable.
Rivera tore his Achilles in the game.
Unbelievable.
In the outfield, and all of a sudden you see him just kind of go down and like, wait, what just happened? Well, the 55-year-old is going to need surgery next week.
How many seasons did he play? The guy was durable. He was a sure thing.
He did. It was in Kansas City, though, shagging flies in the outfield. Do you remember this? He tore his ACL. And he was out for the year. It happened in a game in May, and then next year was the comeback player of the year. But
I just hate that. I hate that these stories exist because it just highlights our mortality. But yeah, you're 55, and it's just obvious we can't do it the way we used to do it. Man, I hated that. For all of the, for as much as that guy did, for as long as he did it, for as automatic as he was, you go out in the old timers game and you pop your Achilles at 55. Yikes.
Since June 19th, the Chicago White Sox have a better record than the New York Mets. Go ahead. Go ahead. Okay. No, I thought the White Sox with 20 wins, the Mets with 18. New York has now lost 7 straight, and they're just a game and a half in front of that powerhouse, the Cincinnati Reds, for the final wild card spot. Sunday's loss being the most painful, blowing a 5-0 lead in Milwaukee, the bullpen melting down. Tomorrow night, the Mets opening a 3-game series at home against Atlanta.
I mean, chin up, Gino. It's Milwaukee. They're not going to lose a game for the rest of the season. That's my take. Milwaukee will not lose a game for the rest of the season, and then they will be ushered out of the postseason in round one. The Milwaukee way.
The Brewers get Pittsburgh tonight, so
Oof.
He'll keep that going.
Oof.
If you are a fight fan, you got to be excited about this. UFC today announcing an exclusive deal with Paramount Plus and CBS. 7 years, $7.7 billion.
Oof.
All UFC events will stream on that platform. There will be select fights on CBS and no more additional fees. So pay-per-view, at least for the next 7 years, for UFC is officially dead.
So this was, if I'm not mistaken, a Disney and ABC and ESPN product, right?
Correct.
And now it's on. So look, I mean, if they're doing it on Paramount, then there's still you have to subscribe to Paramount Plus, right?
Right. It's right, like every other streaming service. But the idea, like, hey, there's a big fight coming up. Okay, it's already included.
And you probably got them in a bidding war between other streamers that would have loved it. I mean, this is where it's going now, right? This is where it's a different model than I think we were used to growing up. Obviously, pay-per-view just felt like, oh yeah, you want something. Like, again, I keep thinking about the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl may never be pay-per-view. Like we've said that for years. Like, oh wait, just wait until they make you pay to watch the Super Bowl. Like, they could very easily bid the Super Bowl out at some point to one of these streamers, and then you are actually paying
indirectly.
For,
Well, I'm wondering, because the worst deal in the history of sports broadcasting is what the NCAA signed with CBS for March Madness. When that's up, something like this, right? Like, these schools are going to get rich instantly, and you can see where this is going. Like, okay, well, then the power schools will take care of it, and we don't really need to share with St. Pete's.
Seeing some on CBS, though, if there are some select fights on CBS, that'll be cool. I mean, like, seeing more UFC when it's not behind a paywall, I'm interested in that.
Normally, who advertises at a sporting event, that is a big old Francesa.
Oh, who cares?
Yes, exactly. No need to give them any more free pub here, but there's a new advertiser for the Buffalo Bills that caught my eye.
Yes.
Getting the fancy ribbon board position at High Market. If you were at the game, you had to see it. The University of Wyoming?
Yep.
Congratulating their MVP and talking about, well, why apply? Danger, how many applicants would that take to get the return on investment?
Okay, let's do the math. Let's just use
$22,000. Somebody tweeted in
22 grand is a year.
Tuition, yeah.
Tuition for a year. So, and you get them for 4 years. So what does that break out to? 88 total. 88 grand.
88 grand back out the cost. You're probably making 40 grand on that. I would say you would only need to admit 2 or 3 kids. That's just my guess to make it worth your while.
Do you think Josh Allen was part of the negotiation? Do you think they like Josh went into the boardroom and said, "Listen, we're adding a little something to the sales contest this month.
Hit the bricks, pal, and beat it, because you are going out."
If you can't close them, you can't close anything. Put that coffee down.
Every university loves to boast famous alumni who, like,
yeah,
he's far and away. Like, I should know this. I should have looked this up. University of Wyoming. It's Josh Allen, right?
Always, yeah. He's probably in there. You know, if we can't close this deal, what are we about?
Always be closing.
Steelers came away with that 31-25 win over Jacksonville. We were talking about that Cam Little 70-yard field goal. Something odd, though, happened after the game. Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin's post-game press conference goes to the podium, gives his thoughts, and then no one dared to ask him a question. 5 seconds of silence, he walked away. I would imagine Tomlin was okay with that.
Yeah, he's probably okay with that. And I would imagine Pittsburgh media's kind of done with Tomlin. Like, it's just like, you do enough of these press conferences, you hear the same beats over and over and over again. And I know how frustrated a lot of Steeler fans are. I mean, look, for a guy who I hear has never had a losing season as a head coach, is there anybody that gets more shade thrown his way than Mike Tomlin?
I would imagine you have to attempt to ask a question, though. What are you doing? Or you're just so beaten down, like, okay, yeah, move
That's
along.
funny. I don't know that I've ever heard of that before.
Or were there just not enough reporters from Pittsburgh going down there to Jacksonville? I'm hard to. No Aaron Rodgers, no DK Metcalf. You knew there weren't a lot of guys playing in this game to begin with.
Did you know everything you needed to know before kickoff, and what's the point of even going there?
Right.
Yeah, interesting. Or like nobody wants to fund the beat reporter. You know, none of the publications, none of the TV stations are going to fund for the beat reporter to go to a meaningless preseason game. Yeah, that's interesting. I'm sure Tomlin was more than fine with it. Show up at the podium, nobody asks the question. Okay, have a great night. See ya.
When it comes to NIL and athletes who missed out on this, I mean, part of you feels sorry, right? They were born too soon. How far back should this go? 12 members of the 1983 NC State men's basketball championship team suing the NCAA for back pay, claiming they should be owed money when highlights are rebroadcast. You know, the Jim Valvano judge dismissing the lawsuit.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know that athletes deserve money when highlights are shown. I mean, these contracts between broadcasters and the NCAA broadcasters in the leagues, that they can kind of do what they want with that footage, and you get what you get, which then was an education. Now you get what you get.
Yeah. Talk about an embarrassing moment. This past weekend saw NASCAR roll into our area down in Watkins Glen. Saturday, the winner of the Xfinity race was Connor Zilch. Not a surprise. The 19-year-old, the current points leader on that circuit. In the winner's circle for the post-race photo op, Zilish is attempting to climb on the roof, as quite often the victor will always do. He gets his foot caught in the driver's side protective netting, tumbles hard to the pavement, zilch breaking his collarbone.
God. And he's probably sidelined, right? You need your collarbone to be able to drive.
And there's everybody ready to take the picture, except it's him sprawled out on the pavement.
I saw this, and I didn't realize that he's like the points leader for the circuit. I didn't realize he was 19. I didn't know any of this. Yeah. So I remember taking my oldest daughter, to a high school football game once. And there were a couple of guys around her age in front of us, and they were just being goofballs. They were just being teenage boys. But they were trying to leapfrog, a pylon that they have at the football stadium, like, or I don't know what it would equate to, like a bike rack or something like that. Yeah. Like they're trying to leapfrog over this pylon that's clearly higher than they're able to leapfrog.
Not a good idea, but go on.
We watched them do this, and the kid just falls on his ass. And me and my daughter are laughing at it. I'm like, and it was very clear that they were just being teenage. They were just showing off. They were trying to be something that they're not ready to be yet. You can't do that yet. You're still too young. Your brain isn't fully developed. You don't realize that's a bad idea. Maybe we shouldn't do that. And I just remember looking at my kid and being like, a lot of times people are just trying to figure it out. They're just going to fall on their face before they figure it out. And that would be what I would say about this racer.
This kid will always be remembered for this. I don't care if he goes up to the big circuit at some point. I don't care if he wins the driver.
What is the big circuit in car racing now? Is it IndyCar?
No, this is like what they used to call the Busch race.
Oh, this is
Saturday, yeah.
So this wasn't actually like NASCAR.
No, it's NASCAR.
It's NASCAR, but it's
the junior,
gotcha.
Yeah,
okay.
The junior circuit, though.
I mean, am I a bad Rochesterian if I admit I've never been to Watkins Glen?
No, I haven't either. I mean, no, you're not a bad Rochesterian. And for anybody that's getting upset, look, there's Deanna, there's other listeners. You love NASCAR? That's cool.
Yeah,
I'm
fine with it.
I totally get it. It's just, for me personally, it's like a bandwidth thing.
I'm not talking negative about anybody who goes. I'm not talking negative about the event. I mean, my brother-in-law was down at Watkins Glen last weekend, and it looked beautiful. I would love to go just hike trails and stuff. But the race itself, I mean, I hear a lot of people that go that have a great time. And I think about it, I'm like, yeah, I'm sure you do have a good time, but I don't know that that's for me.
It was a sport in the 90s that was larger than life.
Exploded.
And then Dale Earnhardt died, and everything changed.
We need what we need is another NASCAR movie. We need another Days of Thunder.
You need personalities. Like any sport.
Yeah.
You need personalities.
For
Everybody, like, here's Jeff Gordon, wholesome guy. You're not one of us. We hate you. Okay.
Yeah, I remember that. Yes. But the idea that this kid, riding a wave, a high point, still just trying to figure it out. Just, he'll learn from that mistake. Broken collarbone sucks. That's tough.
The news out of Philadelphia, you should get this. Landon Dickerson, it's not season-ending, right knee injury. So it's a meniscus injury week to week, which he might be back for the opener against the Cowboys. This happened in team practice in front of the fans there, starting right guard.
That's good news.
Yeah.
That's good news for Philadelphia. And, again, good news for the Bills if you want to take away anything from Saturday's game. The player I was worried about was Taron Johnson, seeing how he kind of left the game the way he did, but he was cleared. He went through protocol, a cleared protocol. I wonder if he gets a day this week just to kind of like, rest up the neck or whatever it might have been that caused that. He kind of like went in head first on that one. It was a little bit scary there. But aside from that, the Bills get through virtually unscathed.
Alexander Madison, I remember here all those years with the Vikings. Out for the year.
Saw that.
He's got a neck injury with the Dolphins.
Yep, I saw that play. That didn't look good either. And Madison, maybe isn't even making that team, even if he stays healthy. I mean, he was out there in the second half, and basically he switched places with Raheem Mostert, who's now no longer with the Dolphins, but in Vegas with the Raiders.
And this weird scene finally down in Atlanta. Good news is Maurice Norris, who they ended the game early.
This is the Friday night game.
Friday night game against the Falcons. He remains in concussion protocol. Dan Campbell says he's doing well. So but both teams just got at midfield, and they didn't announce a suspension of the game. They just let the clock run out, which was
the
weird.
word on the street is that the officials said we're going to continue to play the game, and the coaches said if we continue to play the game, we're just going to take a knee for the rest of the game.
And
so
York
the
couldn't do
compromise
that.
here, what do? You run the clock, nobody plays, and there you go. Bizarre finish. Glad he's okay. We're back. We're so back. It's back. Tomorrow, Matt Perino covering the Bills for the Syracuse Post-Standard, and Michael F. Florio, fantasy football from NFL Network, joins us at 4:25. If you missed Jenna Cottrell from earlier today, you can get that conversation wherever you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you missed the show, go back and watch on our YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester. We are back again tomorrow starting at 3 with a brand new episode. JR Sport Brief next on The Fan Rochester. Have a great night.